Warning: this stream is for entertainment purposes. The opinions expressed by the participants might be exaggerated for comedic effect. Harsh language can be used. Thought-provoking or controversial topics may be discussed.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the the Cat stream. Welcome to the Terra of Your Skin, this special Wednesday edition. I guess they're all special edition now because I don't have a fixed day anymore. That's how it is. It's summer. We stream when we want. Shadow and Justin, should I say that? Are working on a game? Is that too soon to say? They have a project for one?
We decided to work on the game on stream, so it's not too soon.
All right. And they wanted to discuss like what are the minimum requirement to have RPG. What are the most like thing that if you cannot cut, or well, then you have an incomplete game like Candela Obscura. Welcome, Shadow, for your first time on a Terra of Your Skin, which
yeah, it's about damn time, don't you think?
Hey,
and welcome, Justin.
Points, Shadow.
so long ago.
Yeah,
I think you've actually been on my show a couple times, haven't you?
No, just once.
Just one? Oh, okay.
Just once. But maybe twice in at Jackie's birthday or something. The second time. Yeah. Jackie's been on my show.
Yeah, I know. How's that a thing?
Yeah.
That was actually pretty awesome of you. I really appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it. Although, like, I don't know if it's appropriate for a minor. Am I delayed? Am I having a delay between my audio, my sound, and my video?
No, you're good.
No, small, okay. Like it's barely noticeable. It's probably just a hiccup.
Yeah, I'm seeing myself in the monitor, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
If I start acting strange, I'm gonna try to catch up to my image. All right.
Yeah.
Did we do enough like jacking around for people to join?
I don't know. They can catch up. If you get here late, just watch the first parts on what you call 2 times speed until you catch up.
2 times speed. Yeah, I'm hard to listen on 2 times speed. No, am I not? I'm hard to listen on 1 time speed. But
they're here for my font of wisdom as usual.
You're hard to listen on 1 time speed. I wish I could put you on 1.5 in real life, in real time.
Hey, there's no talk of that. There's no point getting. We just went through this. There's no points. Nope. Time out.
So, what is a game? First of all.
Oh, we're not going this far back into the weeds, man. Last time you asked that question, it took 6 months to think of an answer.
Oh yeah, really? No, I have an answer.
You just look it up, Google it.
No, it's a joke because he goes into these philosophical.
Yeah. No, it's always a question, and is Snakes and Ladder a game, right? And some people say, and I say no because there's no choice.
Yeah, the Mexicans have a game called Lottery. It's very much like that, or Candyland, where you just go around the board. Yep. Depending on what you roll and what you land on will determine. They call it lottery, and I'm like, okay, but there's no strategy, there's no planning. The only strategy is whether or not you actually play, kind of like war games.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing you need if you want to make a role-playing game, because it is still a game, is some form of choice, right? But that goes without saying. So you don't want to go do that back into the weeds?
No, we've already established what a game is on past episodes. If people want to know what they are, you can watch more of MrMax content.
But I think you should at least be a
very
and say what's a role-playing game versus what's a game.
Oh, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, because hide and seek is a game, but it's way different.
Is hide and seek a game? I don't know if it's a game.
Yeah,
hide and seek.
I guess it is. Because there's no. I was talking about tag. Tag. My how do you call it? Is it tag? You call it?
Yeah. Where you just.
Well, we've got a
It-
couple of different versions. One I'm not going to say, but yeah.
Like that. I'd say like that might not be a game. That's more like almost like a sport.
Yeah.
Can you
But
imagine
anyway,
professional hide and seek?
if you want to,
I think the Olympics would be more interesting if they had hide and seek tournaments.
well, the Olympics. We're not doing that.
Oh yeah. I forgot. We don't have Olympics anymore. We have,
Yeah.
It's been a while.
yeah.
But yeah, if you want to have those discussion about what is a game, you can watch my other content. Highly masturbatory, intellectually masturbatory.
Content.
Yeah.
It's almost like Max Friedman, but intelligent.
Nah.
You mean Lex Friedman?
Yeah, close enough.
I'm drunk
Yeah, I
after
can't stand
those
that
at the
fucker.
time.
I know that guy makes me so angry
Why
Well,
do
we
you know his
why.
actual
No.
name?
because
Friedman.
for a long period of time, YouTube would constantly put those shows on because I would maybe be interested in watching shows with his guest. So they just assume that, if they're dumb enough to hang out with him, I would enjoy that.
Hmm.
And it was just
I learned,
constantly on my feed until
I
I
learned
had to
about
actually
him.
go to take steps.
I only know about him
and
from Leather Apron Club.
Leather Apron. Yes, I recommend everyone go subscribe to Leather Apron Club.
Yeah.
All right. So, Rudder's role-playing game. Obviously, you need like a role-playing element,
Yes.
which include being, in my opinion, in character. Right? You need to have you need to have a character somehow. So that'd be the first thing you would need. Player would need a character if you want to have a role-playing game. If you want to do a role-playing game, and I guess if you really want to stretch the definition, a character could be like an organ, like in Everybody's John, like all the party or organ of a guy named John, right? So there's a guy playing the.
We're not doing some abstract Disney fucking emotional spectrum
What's up,
thing
Mobius?
here, okay? Don't get that weird, okay?
You
You
mean like,
put your fucking skin back on right now.
I am Jack's sense of disbelief. We're gonna go Fight Club.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that, folks.
But
just remember Robert Paulson.
Or was it? Yeah, it was Fight Club. I was thinking for a second it might be Seven, but no, don't do Seven. Seven, the role-playing game.
Is a party game. Yeah, I agree with that. It's more like a party game.
That is definitely something we could do in the game we're proposing.
What? Oh,
well, except in our game, John has a completely different meaning.
Yes.
Okay. So are we going to just skip over setting?
No, we're gonna work up to that.
Okay.
Because the setting is not essential. You could have a role-playing game without setting.
I believe
like
they call that
like that
GURPS.
Twilight Zone. Like that
No,
Twilight Zone.
but then
the characters in the cylinder.
We're talking about like minimal viable product. If you want to create a role-playing game that people can play, you could do one without a setting, right? GURPS doesn't have a setting.
Yeah.
Then you can buy setting a supplement.
Like the mechanics then.
Yeah, well, you need those to be able to slap your setting on top of. Right?
The idea is like the players could bring their own setting, right? That's something you could total party skill. You can buy like the generic book. It doesn't have a setting. It's still like a functional game.
Mm-hmm.
It does also sell setting
Okay,
books.
maybe I should have said genre. Would that make more sense?
Yeah, but that's your preset setting,
then.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some genres do have innate rules that have to come with them.
Yeah, but if we talk about like if we go to the bare essential, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is not needed. Like this isn't like we can have like the must have and the nice to have, right?
Yeah.
They're different thing.
Those are like your second tier. Like after you decide you need a character creator and a resolution mechanic, which are the two base things you need, then you start adding that kind of like granular, right? Like you've decided to build a sandbox, you need to build a box before you start putting sand into it, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And the whole point of this exercise was to create that checklist of like, idiot, you need this before you go any further. Right, like
Yep.
when I was talking to Max and post doing the
Yes,
show.
but sometimes it is worth, like, because there's something that are obvious that you will need, but it's something that you will need that could be worth sometime putting the horse before the cart before the horse, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna talk about, you need a character, and your character does need some form of attribute or way to distinguish himself from other character. Probably more than just a name, right? You need something to make it distinct. Otherwise, well, do you really have a character, right?
Mm-hmm. Like even with what I'm proposing for our game, that base character sheet that pulls you that you pull out of the book for the standard cop class, it is like the bare minimum variety of variation of character for that class, just pre-generated for you, and then you would add more of those unique things through gameplay instead of rifling through the shopping mall of luxury packages or min-maxing packages that you would in most other games, right? Like the point of that suggestion of a nearly pre-generated character for you when you start that game that we're talking about is specifically designed to prevent players from starting a game with a min-maxed character. It's
I think
not
you could have like
to
a RPG that default to only have like pre-gen character.
that's what I was suggesting.
Yeah, I think that would still, like, because we're talking about that a bit earlier, like a character creation. I don't think that's a necessity. It's a nice to have, right? It's a good thing to have, but you could have a game that doesn't present you character creation, but just pre-gen, right? Or template and stuff like that, or just say like, well, just don't go template and adapt them to your will, right? Just I think it'd be lame, but it would still be technically viable.
As long as there's a place to go with that character through development in game.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, but that's still like one of the things that has to be talked about.
Yeah.
Like how do you do that? What's your mechanic for allowing character development in game?
George Grog was saying that you need something to differentiate the player character from each other, be it skill, attribute, or class. Like exactly. That's what I was saying. Like you need something to,
Well, you could have 3 of the same stat pages, like say you have 3 players and you have exactly 3 statted players, but they're played differently through role play, right? Like one is played like a grizzled jaded ass monkey, and the next one is a joyful, right? Like and
I usually use the analogy of Luke, Han, and Obi-Wan. They're 3 different people at 3 different points in their life, and they're 3 vastly different skill sets and all that. But in Traveler, for example, you can start your game out playing any one of those characters through the character generation process, and they still enter into the scene, if you will, with no more advantages or disadvantages than the other. So you don't hear that whining, oh, your character's more powerful than mine, blah blah blah. They're really not. I mean, kind of maybe if you want to throw in the Force, but if you take that out, then right off the bat they all have their different attributes and talents and personality and various other things that completely differentiate them from one another, but they
Yeah.
all walk into the scene ready to go without.
Yeah. But like we were mentioning, like those party game, like Everybody's Done, like another one that, like those one-page role-playing game, right, that people do, right? That I think most of them are not very interesting to play, to be honest, because they're too stripped down. But I think that's kind of like the exercise that they're trying to do, like how far can we take it to be stripped down? And you got a game like Laser and Feeling, right?
Laser and Feeling. Don't badmouth thirsty sword lesbians. I believe
30
that's.
Southern Lesbians is a very different thing. Very different.
Isn't that like a short game though? I've never
I think
actually looked at it.
well, I think it's like I think it's kind of rule light, but like close to almost OSR stuff like that, right? Just,
Yeah.
it's not quite as stripped down as those one-page game, right?
Yeah.
Laser and Feeling, you got two attribute, laser and feeling. So, and they both total like I think it's 7. I forgot.
Isn't that an album also?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. There's a band. Either that's their name or the name of the first album. I think that's where that comes from. It's a girl band that sings songs about lasers and feelings.
No, that's a very high concept. But and that I guess that could be like the answer to that. Like, what is the most stripped down RPG out there? Fiasco, if you call it one. Like, well, I think like those kind of like laser and feeling, and there's like Honey Heist, where you play a bear trying to steal honey. That's the concept of the game. And you have the two stats you have is like one is bear and one is criminal, and they always total the same number, so you can be more bearish or more criminalish. And you roll above one or under the other one, right? Very, very stripped down. And even with unload those two stats, you can give a personality, a different personality, even if you have the same stat to your character, because those are non-mechanical stuff, right? But you do have a character, and if you were to say you can have a character with a personality and no stat, then the character kind of become meaningless outside of like you're no longer playing like a character in a role-playing game. You're doing like this kind of improv kind of thing. If everybody just roll and the game just become like a luck thing, because if you have the kind of mechanic resolution that rely on luck, like a dice roll, and nothing that your character influence the dice roll, then it just based on like every character is just luck if you can do something or not, right?
Yeah.
So you're moving away from what I would call a role-playing game. So I think that you would need a character, and this character would need something that distinguish him, some mechanical thing that distinguish him from other character. Now, how many? It can be very little.
Yeah.
But you need something.
Just subtle line variations. But like we were talking, how you'd have that pre-generated sheet and then just roll the die for what amount of extra points you could add on stuff. Shadow, that would add that subtle variation on things.
Because in essence, you're creating a person. Well, you have to kind of figure out what things these people in your situation can do. You got to start with all the things that people can do. Unless you're throwing in combat wheelchairs, you got walking, you got talking, you got figuring things out and trying to make things happen.
But
that's the thing, like that's the idea, like with the laser and feeling, like it's like you have those two skills that are extremely broad, right? If you do something
so
about
abstract.
talking, about like social stuff and stuff like that, then you roll feeling. If you do something that is about violence, you roll laser, right?
Or technological, or
intellectual,
or that's why you have like even in the 6 stat fucking OSR monstrosity, D&D or whatever. Those stats are abstracted, right? Like you don't have a stat for picking something up with your right hand. You have strength.
Or dexterity.
Yep.
Yeah, or dexterity, depending on if it's like a fine motor skill or like lifting something heavy.
Picking up a paperclip off the floor versus 100-pound weight.
And you're gonna use the same skill if you try to walk across a tight rope or pick a lock, right? Which are
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
attribute, right? Which is not the same thing.
they're not the same skill sets or even the same like muscle memory
No,
levels.
they really needed an agility and a dexterity.
No, they didn't. The
Well,
abstraction is good enough.
yeah, exactly. Like that's the point. Do they need that
I
or do they
suppose,
don't?
but I know
Right?
a lot of people that could do some things, but the other
Yeah.
ones,
Yeah, well, that's why you get the specialty skills and things like that.
Yep.
You
I
have those, and
suppose, or
then,
maybe find another word that's more of a halfway point between the two.
well,
Well,
uh, walking on the ledge of a wall and walking on a tightrope, but there is a little bit of skill for picking a lock. Okay, yeah, locks are dead simple to pick. There's no
Once you know how.
once you know how. Um, but you have that as like a thing you have to learn, right? You take a course on it or whatever. Um, and then once you do that, it then gets abstracted to that standard stat of agility, right? Um, and then maybe you could eventually get super good at it and put like a plus for doing it or something.
well, the thing is like you're always gonna need like abstraction, unless you want to do like fatal, right? Which
Or
like Space Roddy was asking, like, is there something? Can you have like too many rules? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
any book that has more than 40 pages.
I don't agree with that. I think you can have more than 40, but also like a lot of the page.
Shut up.
But like I
what
said, I
goes
think
up-
you can also have too few because
Yep.
Yeah.
despite maybe some of our opinions, I know from the industry and the market out there, they're always looking for more. They're
Yeah.
if you put out a core system that had 10 books, there would be people out there that would want all 10.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
that's a trap, and then the people are not satisfied with that,
Understood.
and they don't understand why. But like those games that are super simple, oftentimes they don't have enough to be interesting in the long run, right? You can do
Exactly.
like a one session with them and stuff like that, but then like you went around them pretty fast. So there's that
Yeah.
thing.
With a core book, I don't have a problem with that. Right? Like a book that's standalone, you can play this game by itself, but it might not be good for like
Everything.
6 years of a campaign or whatever.
Mhm.
But then you get your like flavor books, right? As long as they don't break the system like you end up getting with the ampersand company.
Yeah. Yeah.
That like just adds.
George, is that a thing? The monostat system?
Yeah, you flip a
Just one
coin.
stat?
You flip a coin for your die roll mechanic. I don't think it exists, but
Yeah,
it's-
there are games that resolve with a straight yes or no.
Well, every
Uh,
game that have you roll a d6 and you succeed on a 3 or on a 4 or more, right? Yeah, that's a flip a coin. That's you roll a d2.
Well, anything that has a succeed in the middle line with no variant stat. Like technically Morkborg is like that if you have a 0 stat in whatever you want because it's a succeed on 12 or higher, unless specifically stated otherwise. On a D
Yeah.
D20.
So
but your stat will lower or make that number higher depending on like because you can have a negative stat in that game. You'd be like you have a bum leg, so you have a -2 in strength or dexterity or whatever.
yeah. Oh, monostat.
Monostat
sorry,
game.
I never had that problem. So
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
I kind of agree, Rody.
With the percentile gaming is the objective dice method. Everything else is just extra math. Well, I don't like because if you roll like I think like I don't like rolling 2 dice if you're not doing anything interesting with it. Like some games I can get away with it because like, oh, you can flip the tens and the units. Okay, now you get something kind of interesting with it. But other than that, like I don't care about like getting 1% increment on stuff, right? Give me 5% increment and then like just make it a d20 then. And then there's also the
Justin
problem
and I
that
were talking about this. I've played a lot of percentile issues where I just roll me the first die. We don't need make it quick. Roll me one die 10. Okay, you rolled a 7. Well, you needed a 3.
Yeah.
You rolled a 70, but you needed a 30.
Yeah.
If you roll over it, it doesn't matter how much you roll over it by, unless you're doing numbers of successes and failures.
And then you get into the math, right? You look at fucking a game like BRP. Oh, if you roll under 5% of your skill, so now you have a skill of 67. So now you have to figure out like 5% of that, right? Just like it's
Well, like
madness.
we're doing this because I've always been fascinated with the game system of only having the one die for everything.
Yeah.
I said that to Shadow, and he said, "Yeah, can we make it a D10?" Because he likes those percentiles.
Well, that's the way in the real world we do things and we think about things. When we guesstimate our chances, we're not thinking is it 1 in 6. We're thinking is it 10%, 30%, 50%, 100%. That's how
some people do.
Those are weirdos.
No. Well, no.
I mean, that's how it's taught, in mechanic classes, and when you're testing things in the factory, you're going on, 1 to 100%. You're not pulling out the.
That's very metric of you, Shadow.
It's just the way I've grown up around different industries. When it comes to variances and tolerances, it's 100%, or less or more sometimes, but very rarely.
Yeah.
You can say 1 in 10, 1 in 9, or 1 in 10, or like 5 in 10, or that would be like 1 in 2, I guess. But
I could see like the only thing I could see needing the granularity of the full D100 is if your characters had a life stat of 100 points standard, and then you needed that granularity to see how much damage you were doing to the person, or like why would you ever need that level of?
Oh, I can tell you why. It's really simple. It
math
comes
nerds.
from what?
Math nerds?
No. It comes from the leveling up process. When you've got characters that are going to go from first level to, let's say, over 10th level, you need to stretch out those increments of getting better. Because if they get really good too quick, like at third level, suddenly you've got 80, 90%, the game becomes too easy. Because you just get through all the things. And so they had to space it out, starting with Dungeons and Dragons with the thieving abilities from, sometimes you'd only get a 3% increment as you go up levels. Otherwise, if you start getting 10s and 15% bonuses for going up levels.
You know what that says? It doesn't say you have a problem with leveling up. It says you have a problem with like power creep mechanics
and pacing. The big problem with that was that there were actual big chunks of minuses, negative modifiers to those things, but nobody ever paid attention to that. So they just saw, their numbers, and it just became a way to just, I don't know how to put it. God, my brain's not working right now. Just getting too good too quick, and turning the game into just
like superhero land, right? Like
it just
that tells me you have too much of the ability to improve beyond absurdity.
But that's also like people want to simulate emulate the concept that in life you get better at things like slowly, but that's not how it works actually, right? You getting better at stuff in life.
You always look like this.
What? Oh,
you said I look stoned.
You become moderately competent and you stay that way for a very long time until you become an expert at something.
Well, it goes by
That's
step
not
because you
entirely true.
figure out something at some point, right? You just like
Yeah.
There are some skills though. Look at the military.
No. Most of those
Rather
people are
not.
just moderately competent.
Yeah.
In certain skills like marksmanship, you can be
Even
taught.
Even there.
You can be taught rather quickly to be way better than average in a very short amount of time.
Well, it's 'cause
Yeah,
most
very.
people
Yeah,
don't receive
that's the point.
training.
That's the step, right? Because you get explained something, and then, all right, now you can do it like once in a while. It's unreliable, but at some point you get it, and then you get it. You know, you can always do it, right? The same thing when you do like when you train
And the
lifting,
other
right? I
thing
see like
is
people like
they
they
never
struggle, they
take into
struggle,
One
they
at a
struggle.
Sorry.
You teach like lifting to people in this. You try to show them the proper form, and they struggle, they struggle, they struggle. At some point, they do it once, and they get it right, and then like there's a light bulb that flashed in their fucking head, right? And just like, oh, now I get it, and then they can fucking do it, right?
Yeah.
As
But one
as they
thing they
want.
never
You know,
take into account, guys, is if you don't use the skill regularly, it's not as good as you think it is.
Mm,
You know, go to the
Yeah.
range after having not been to the range in 5 years.
but
You
it comes
suck.
back much faster than
Sure,
if you
sure.
were to learn.
Because
But there is a degradation. If you're a surgeon and you don't perform surgery for a year, you come back.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
you told me
muscle
last
memory,
time was a
right?
fucking disaster for me.
Yeah, but that's muscle memory, not inherent knowledge, right?
It could
Yeah,
be it could be a little up here as well.
yeah. Sometimes you forget.
Well,
Depending
for
on
right?
you, but you've had
Well,
the
yeah, for me,
Alzheimer's
that's everything.
since
That's a
you've had the
Old-timer.
Alzheimer's since the Neolithic age or whatever.
George, multiple dice simulate a bell curve. Well, not with the D100 thing.
Yeah,
But there's
that's
another
the
problem
one
with those.
exception. Well, what
yeah,
is the
that's
fascination with the bell curve? I don't get
nerds.
well, the bell
because
curve.
life isn't like that. You know what I
It
mean? You're
is.
not. I mean, I suppose in some things, but generally, not everything is like that.
There are ways to get around that with like a single d6. You just gotta like structure your
bonus and
your
like
bonus
people
around
people make
the
too much of
die.
the bell curve on the of the dice roll, but what really matter is the bell curve on the final result. So if you have like if you roll on a table, then you can simulate the bell curve there. If you add like modifier to your roll, you can simulate the bell curve there. If you have, there's different thing you can do. The difficulty level
don't
can
most-
simulate the bell curve.
Don't most bell curves sort of accentuate the average chance
Yes.
and make that
Yes,
actually they turn
yes.
the average chance into more way
Yeah,
more
a more high likely outcome.
yeah, which takes away, I think, a lot of the excitement because if you're looking at like a 1 in 10 chance, rolling the 1 or the 10 is a big deal. Maybe
Well,
good, maybe bad, but you're taking that away by eliminating the likelihood of that.
It's
occurs.
like we were talking on my show this afternoon where you had the DM that wouldn't let you slice the throat of people you knocked unconscious,
Mhm.
right?
Oh.
He was talking about a game where his character used to sleep on a bunch of like goblins, and then the DM was making them roll for every goblin throat he slit after they were unconscious, like they were still in combat. It was like,
Yeah.
no, that's a give me. Like, I've knocked them out. They're incapacitated. I get to kill them at my heart's
It's
content.
literally how can you fail, and
Yeah.
the likelihood of failure
Yeah.
should be less than
Well,
the chance of success.
That's the same ethic with the applying the bell curve to a die roll. It's like your character should have a greater percentage of doing this. There should be like it's diminishing that you can't do that in the die when you should be able to.
Or if you look like a game like a Mongoose Traveler, right? When you roll 2d6 and then you add your attribute and your skill,
and or
right?
skill.
Yeah. And then it offset the bell curve, right? That's the thing, right? Just
Drastically.
2d6, you're gonna roll a 7, but now like you be your 1 in 6 time, with 2d6, you're gonna roll a 7, right?
Mhm.
But if you have a +2, well, then it's 1 in 6 time, you're gonna
Mhm.
roll a 9 or something like that. So it does change the odds quite a bit. And I think, like
Mhm.
you say, like it diminished the excitement. I think it increased it, because if you just roll a straight d10, rolling a 10, rolling a 1, or rolling a 5, they're all just as likely, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's like, well, I rolled a 10 this time. Could have rolled a 9. Could have rolled a 7. Could have rolled anything, right? With if
Right,
you
but
have
if
a
you're rolling,
dice roll that have a bell curve, the extremes are more extreme, right? They're more like,
It,
oh, that's a rare occurrence now.
it's more impressive to roll a snake eyes than a single one.
Yeah.
sure.
And then that's basically like the layman's example of why a bell curve works, because it's harder to hit a 12 or 2 on
Yep.
a pair of
Right. The
d6
only
than
problem I
it
have with that
is
though is
a 1 or a 6 on
when you're dealing with like players versus other groups,
yeah.
those other groups tend to be a lot larger.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you've got the party and they're running through Goblin Forest. Well, there's going to be a lot of goblins, and the goblins are going to get to roll multiples of the same dice more than the players, like say to hit or whatever, because of their numbers. The dice rolls are just going to keep going in their favor. At some point, it's just going to be
Well,
that death spiral.
that's another thing. Like, I like player facing games, but nobody in this circle likes them, so I never get to play one.
Like what?
Uh,
Player
player
facing
facing
game.
games.
Where the player makes all their dice roll.
Yeah, so instead of like the player rolls their combat, then the game master rolls the combat of the
The
opponent.
monster. Yeah.
Yeah. The opponent is just assumed to attack, and the player rolls their defense roll, and if they succeed at their defense roll, the opponent loses, and if they win at their defense roll, the opponent strikes. It's just a given.
If they fail the defense roll, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, if they succeed, they don't get hit. If they fail,
Yeah.
they do get hit.
Yeah.
For whatever the damage is, and however you calculate that, maybe it's every point over the failure they take that in damage. So you could do that, right? Which could be devastating, right?
Yeah.
On a
I always like. It's been a long time since I disliked those kind of game. Maybe I need to reconsider my position on those at
it
some
actually
point.
might not be a bad thing for the way you guys play.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
maybe I need to get over my prejudice on that specific thing.
just that specific thing. There are other
Yeah,
prejudices.
I'm not really on board with that. It seems to me that if you don't state or let everybody know that you're trying to defend yourself, then
No,
you're not.
you have to be declarative. Like, it has to be obvious
Yeah,
that
because otherwise it's like that's too Warhammer 40K. You get an armor save and another save, and you were full on doing something else. You're taking the hit. You didn't even know the guy was there. You're in a war situation, but you get all these
no,
to not die. That's not how it works.
it's like
What? Speak.
sorry, I got distracted with the same thing you were smirking at. No, but like say the bad guy is attacking you in surprise. Instead of the game master rolling their attack, the game master would say, roll defense, you're being attacked. And then if it's an alternating attack thing, then you would roll your attack, and then they would roll. You would roll their. You're rolling their attack as well, but it's based around whether or not they get past your defenses or not for their success.
I don't know. I suppose that could work with games where you've got a lot of things that could count as a defense. You know what I mean?
No, it works. It works even if you have like nothing, just the one stat or whatever.
No, I
Something's
mean
gonna be like two, like
what
a
you're
magic
wearing:
resist and a
armor,
melee resist.
a shield, a sword.
No,
Maybe
it
you
works
go.
just it works just the same way as a normal system. Just the player always knows whether or not the dice is being fudged because they know they're not fudging the dice. It also is like very important that it's a all dices are rolled in public kind of.
Yeah, and it
Um,
takes away like the concept of opposed dice and stuff like that, which
Yeah,
I tend to be a fan of.
yeah,
Like
I kind of like
not
it too.
taking away like I like opposing dice. Like, oh, we both roll and we see which one roll higher,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
that is actually, but especially in person, you got the dice tray, and it's like, okay, roll your d10, roll my d10.
yeah.
Everybody's focused on that little competition. That little what was that top game that was real
That
popular?
adrenaline thrill. You might as well go back to the alley and just fucking play for quarters, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't discount the physiological changes and
Yeah,
things that
it's
occur
an
at the table.
adrenaline rush. I'm
Absolutely,
not.
those
I'm
are
not a huge fan of it.
Well,
really
it is. If
No.
you're in a fight and stuff like that, right? You
uh-huh,
can say like it's kind of
that's
like
weird.
it puts you like in
That's
a situation where your character would have the adrenaline rush anyway. So why not?
Yeah.
But
the endorphins that are released during a good game are
Yeah. Well,
sometimes indescribable.
it's artificial because you're still getting a hit from like, am I going to survive? Like the player is still getting the hit of like, am I going to pass it or not? But
yeah.
it's less of like an adversarial adrenaline rush. You know what I mean? Like you're not competing against the game master.
And
No,
it
but
does tend
yeah,
to simplify a lot of things because you don't have like to bean count on both sides and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. You're just like, is this number over or under? Done.
And
It's not. Is
and
this
it
number
does
better
free the
than that
GM.
number?
It does free the GM quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Because the GM like doesn't have never have to touch dice. And they say, oh,
Well,
so you can focus in telling your story, which then that's when they get me mad.
well, no, you can still touch dice. It's just not in a against the player kind of where it prevent it it breaks down that mentality of making the game masters start to think as of themselves as being against the party
Yeah.
instead of
right.
as part of the party.
I don't really find that
Which
anymore. You know,
in yourself, I see it a lot out there, bro. Like when I go around the web and I look at people, I still see that a lot in like,
really.
how can I fuck over the party or
And you still see a lot of like players that also like play like that,
are
like always
concerned
like being
about it.
suspicious about the GM and say like, well, that's a player that's been like traumatized.
Yeah, the
Player that's been abused.
adversarial GM thing. I
Yeah.
really don't encounter that now that I, you know, don't hang out with younger people,
Yeah.
and that I'm usually now gaming with people that are former GMs. I could see that, in a much younger crowd and beginners who don't understand it, because there are a lot of other games out there that really foster that mentality. But I really haven't. If I see it, it's like jokingly, it's like the GM, and maybe some people might take it wrong, like it's actually legitimate, like the DM's like, I'm rolling like shit. Like, well, yeah, but what do you care?
Shut up, you dice fudging.
I feel like we've been on a huge tangent now. Let's
Yeah,
get back to the topic at
I was
hand.
thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
But since we're talking about all that thing, right? All that like we do need some kind of conflict resolution mechanic, right?
Yeah, you need
Which
something to
can be dice. Doesn't have to be random. Doesn't have to be dice. Could be card. Could be something else. Could be like drawing from a bag, right? Like I wouldn't advise for that.
no,
I
stick
hate
with the
those gimmicky
dice,
methods,
weirdo.
But you could also have like
gimmicky methods.
Here,
The what?
I'm going to create a book on the theory of making role playing games. It's just going to be stick with dice, weirdo. Now
Well,
buy
there
another
could be
book.
there could be a reason for doing like cards and stuff like that. What I fucking hate,
Yeah.
or dice back draw, right? What I fucking hate if
Yeah.
like if you make me do that, but I put the piece or the card back in the deck every time and reshuffle every time, then like just have me roll a dice. Then like
Mhm.
the idea if you do the back draw is that the piece that is drawn is kept out until all the pieces are drawn. So now like the
Yeah.
probability change, and that could create interesting situation. Like you count your piece and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of that in a role playing game. I like that those mechanic in board game. But
Hmm.
you could also have like conflict resolution mechanic that would be completely deterministic. So no, without any randomness.
Hmm.
Uh,
Like if you were making a game that had like a lot of prophecies and fates in it, that kind of like a predeterministic system would probably be
no, but I was thinking,
to my
let's say if you have like a some kind of resource, right? Like a stamina or something like that. You want to do an action,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and you have like you're opposing somebody. You have to bet a number of stamina secretly, and the other party do the same, and then you compare, and both stamina that are bet are lost, but the one that bet the most win. So now it's about like who wants the success the most, right? So you could have like this kind of like mechanic going on. Oh yeah, and the Space Roadie there talk about Ember Diceless, which is like now Shadow. And I don't know about it, but Shadow is a think
Uh,
it's a great game apparently.
yeah.
It's
Shadow's an
one of
aficionado.
it's one of the first real games that emphasized and focused on the role playing more than all these dumb mechanics. Because once you've made your character, you know what you can do, and the resolution is based on more than likely the fact that you're probably better than anything you're going to come across anyways, because you're like playing like a demigod as it were, and the
Oh,
likelihood that
you
you're going to
already
come
lost me.
across something better than yourself is pretty rare. Maybe in a couple of things they might be, like if you came across a dragon, well, yeah, it would probably beat you in an arm wrestling match,
What
or
if you do PvP?
which the game is highly about. That's when it comes into play, and you already know who's the best, at fighting, who's the best at strategy, who's the best at,
Putting a cat butt on camera.
yeah, yeah.
Is that improper? I'm so...
I get enough of that with Raven. Thank you very much. But
Yeah.
it really
But
focuses on
it's
the
never
role
the
playing.
same cat butt per time it happens.
Yeah, but you literally have to. It's built in. You have to role play everything. You have to describe and state everything you do, because that's what determines part of your success. Is like
what is the resolution? What determine if you succeed or fail at something?
it usually depends on two things. You have what's called good or bad stuff, which is like luck. If you have good luck or bad luck, if you've got that, then that will often determine if you're successful in like to break a tie. But everything else is like, well, you have, let's say, a strength of 6. Well, you just automatically beat in strength contests anything lower than that, and everything higher than that, they just win because they're
Okay.
stronger always. And
Hmm.
you've only got like 4 stats, I think, or maybe 5, I forget. But if your
Is there
stat,
some kind of resource you can spend to kind of offset those, or
um,
was that like the luck?
not really,
No.
not really that I recall, other than the equivalent of experience points, as you might gain them at the end of a session, and you may hold on to them instead of use them, and you can kind of maybe expend them. But for the most part, you instantly know in every situation, or at least the GM knows just the numbers. It's very much like playing war with cards. My 6 beats your 5, so I win.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
But that's the
Mhm.
thing with
Min
playing war
max.
with card. That could be one thing that I would say is not a game, right? Because there's no choice.
Right.
Well,
But
if you had to put down 5 cards every round and then select what ones matched up for the resolution, then it becomes a game.
it's still not a choice. because you can have a choice, but there's an obvious correct solution, right? You get what I mean? So it's a fake choice.
It's the illusion of choice. I think it
Yeah.
would be better if you were going to play war. Each person gets half the deck, and you hold them in your hands. So
Yeah.
that person puts down a one, but you're going to put down the two. You know what I mean? Something like that, where you have all the choices, but the strategy is in, when and where do you play the cards.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Did
My
you-
most controversial opinion is I like the Star Wars game with the special dice. That's very controversial.
yeah, like
You mean what, like a 7-sided die?
No, they're like they're the polygonal dice, but they have like special symbol on them.
Oh, big
And when
freaking-
you roll them, it is like people are talking about like a reading chicken.
Oh, you
chicken
mean like
heart,
every symbol is different, and none of them are 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, or 6s?
yes, and your
Yeah.
dice roll is gonna give you like, oh, I rolled the 2 advantage and a triumph, and then
I
and then
hate
like
that shit.
and the GM has to and yeah, I'm very not a fan of that. That's for me like too complex. But some people, some people did like it.
George, go into the corner.
People are allowed to have different wrong opinion.
Absolutely.
They're allowed to have different wrong opinions. Your opinion is wrong.
When it comes
No.
to most dice, that's why I don't like dice pool games either.
This is why I don't
It's-
like Fantasy Flight. Because Fantasy Flight has so many like.
It's a board
It
game
Well,
would-
they're
company.
dice
it would be
manufacturer,
so
so what do you expect,
good.
right?
Yeah, it's a board game company. It's not a role playing game company.
But like they can still manufacture specialty dice that don't have like nonsense symbols on them. You just have the like 1 or the 6 replaced with the fancy logo.
What? I was reading George's comment. I feel the dice system reflects the feel of the film soundtrack.
Yeah.
Epic and 40 years old.
Yeah, I just like for me it's just like I don't know. It never like it always like felt a bit too clunky for me, right? But
yeah, I'm right there with Justin. If like for example, my dice collection is really small. People make fun of it all the time. If all I needed was one die for any game, that would be so much better, so much quicker, because I don't care about, it's really, I was talking to Sean a long time ago about this. Flipping a coin would be just as, easy. It makes just as much sense. Is it yes or is no? Do you succeed or do you not?
and then if you're better, you flip like a quarter instead of like a penny. And
No, well, but like when you boil it down to the bare minimum of what you need in a situation is that variable of yes or no, and then you start talking about gradation based on skill development. If you have a game with absolutely no skill development in it whatsoever, you have the exact same stats at the beginning as you do at the end. Why do you need to die? You just need the resolution of yes or no. Obviously, you want some more
that's what we're
variation
talking
in that
in
for chance and
that's what we talk about as point 1, right? You need a character which in some way distinguish himself, right?
Yeah.
The character need to influence this yes or no question.
Yeah, and
some way.
That's what your stat numbers do. Is they take the number on your die and they slide your success or failure rate up and down that number line.
Exactly, because that's what happened, right? If you roll a d10, because that's the example we're using now, and you need to roll above a 5 or 6 or more, right, for the yes. Well, then if you have a +1, then you just need to roll 5 or more to have a yes, right? That's what it does, right?
Yeah. Or if you have a -1, you need to roll a 7 or more, right? Like you could do that. You could have like a negative stat on your character sheet, which would be mathematically representative of like being lame or incoordinated or nearsighted.
Being Justin.
Yeah, like being me. Like I have no problem with telling you that I'm a -3 in all stats. All right.
Yeah, but
I need to get a
you're
9
the
better.
you're the party balance.
I'd be really good at carrying shit around, except for I'm weak.
But and talking
uh,
about that, you
you see,
probably
Shep,
have.
you need to learn how to do that. That way, it's more fun for you when I call you gay.
Yeah. But like we're talking about, like the
Like,
character probably have like a need to have a way to distinguish himself from other character. You probably need to have more than one then, because otherwise, if you only do a character with one stat, right, and everybody got the same stat, then everybody can be put like, oh, you got a 5 and I got a 4,
Yeah, but
right? It's
if
like,
you,
well,
if
then
you
you're
I
just like
find
better.
if you were to do something like that, or when those kinds of situations happen, then what you end up having is a constant game of one-upsmanship.
Yeah.
People like not giving the other players their turn, because the only way to be really successful is to get
Well,
the most time in the spotlight.
we're not accounting for bad player here. Like that's that's a
yeah.
different.
Right.
That's
If
a
everybody's
different
got their part to play, then
Yeah.
then you not only does that eliminate that, but it's like, okay, Joey, it's your turn to shine. You got to do this thing, and all eyes are on Joey.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you have like more than one stat, like if you, let's say you have 2 stat, right? Now you can have a choice. You can be good at one, bad at the other, or the
Bad at
opposite.
both or good at both.
Or like try to be balanced, right? A jack of all trades. Like you wouldn't choose to be bad at both, and
You
probably
might look at Justin.
Oh,
no, but he got like
You
got
can
like
softball
bonus
him.
Did they
somewhere
drop?
else. We haven't found that
did
yet.
they finally descend?
Hey, if he's gonna softball him in there like that, just saying, that's too easy.
So
Oh.
yeah, like I wait to, because that's the thing. Like if your character try to do something
Mhm.
that is uncertain, you need to determine a way to figure out if you succeed or not, right? So that's the yes or no, right?
Mhm.
Regardless what it is. So now we have like 2 things that you need for your role-playing game: a character with some way of distinguishing himself from other,
Mhm.
and a conflict resolution mechanic, or a yes or no kind of like a answer.
Yeah,
Some
well,
way to get a. It's not
that's a
necessarily about.
conflict.
All right, let's call it a night. That's all
Yeah.
you need.
Well, those
Is
are
that all you need?
bare minimums. You
Yeah.
want more than the bare minimums.
Yes,
And
but if you had those 2 things, you could have a game that could be played, and that could be called a role-playing game.
Mhm. But then you want to start talking about like how does your conflict resolution system interact with different sub mechanics? Like, okay, how does it interact in combat? How does it interact in search? How does it interact in chase? Right? Like these are things that we would need for the kind of game we're going for, right? Shadow. So
Yeah, but does
I'm
it
a big
really
fan
have
of.
to be all that different?
No, I'm a big fan of thing being homogenized.
homogenized but flavorful. You want it to interact with it the same way,
Mhm.
but it have a tonal flavor, so it doesn't feel like you're just eating a stick of butter with every meal.
I don't know.
You want a little pepper
I
every
don't like
now and
having
then.
too many subsystem personally. Like
No,
I'm
not
a fan of,
subsystem.
you try
Just
to punch someone in the face. Well, you roll your punch skill. You try to interrogate something. Roll your interrogate skill, right?
Traveler.
yeah.
And then interrogation. Exactly.
Traveler
I like
does
Traveler.
all of that, and it's all, everything is, like you said, pretty homogenous.
Skill roll.
Every skill, it's
Yeah.
you've got a difficulty roll. You add your skill, you add your stat bonus, beat the target number, done deal.
Yes.
That's, and it works for everything. That way, you don't have to think of, is it a sneak roll, or is it, are the certain mechanics for this, kind of resolution, like chases and escapes versus
Yeah.
combat.
Since we go on that tangent, right?
This is what I meant though. Like I meant like not having like a radically different system, but still letting the players know that this is how it's being used.
Yeah. Now, like when we can talk about
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
is
Doc, that's a toughie.
if you have the worst end-to-end mechanic. That's when you
That's
get into
tough.
like
I'm a big fan
we'll
of
talk
both
about it.
games, and I'm a huge fan. Well, actually, Top Secret Second Edition is way better, but 1E and Top Secret both had probably. God, that was so funny. The cat's angle. They're both just garbage, hot garbage, and
Oh, really?
hotter garbage. You
Yeah.
know,
That's the case. Like
it was
that's
way
that's
too
something that's
complicated. Every maneuver had a different, you know,
every time we go into an end-to-end combat, everything's get too complicated. Like very few
and,
games get that right. I still haven't get it right on my own.
yeah, it's really simple. You know, everything has a target number to beat.
Yeah. But you
Depending on
see
its
that since
that's
now
it.
we're in the nice to have, right? Okay, we're talking
Mhm.
about like dice mechanic, dice conflict resolution, to be more generous than just dice mechanic, which it's probably dice mechanic, right?
Yeah, we're going with dice. That's our
Yeah.
conflict.
So now you have to think of if the character tries to do something in the wall that is not opposed, right? You're trying to or opposed by something inanimate. You try to kick down a door. You try to climb a mountain. You try to whatever, right? You try to pick a
Drive a
lock.
car, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you need to maybe you want to have a conflict resolution for that, which is oftentimes what we say against a static number. And if you do something that somebody actively opposes you, right? That's something to consider if you want to have like a variation in your resolution.
So, like, it depends on, once again, are we doing player facing or not player facing? But then again, that second die roll is just who's rolling it, so it doesn't really matter.
You could have like a player facing with the dice roll saying like, oh, roll 2d10, one blue and one red, right? And just
Yeah.
like
Or just roll one and then roll it again for the conflict result, right? Like, so,
yeah.
say
I don't like like I would advise against like I like when a dice roll when
or simultaneous.
no when it's result with one dice roll, right? That's
Yeah.
also like, but that's like I'm a stickler with that. I don't like exploding dice for that reason, because then like, oh, I just roll my dice. Oh no, I have to roll some more, and then like, everybody's waiting on the table like,
Well,
all right, get fucking
well,
on with it. Tell me if you succeed or not.
what I mean by that is like, okay, so say you're driving. Okay, my character has the special ability of license. That means I can drive a car. I have the
It's not really all that
understanding.
special here, but okay.
In a game
If you lose
mechanic,
your license, you can't drive anymore. Everybody knows that you're incapable.
well,
They blank your memory and you lose that.
It's not that you can't, but like that's what you'd probably call it in a fucking role playing game. Is like, did I learn how to drive a car? So
Yeah,
you got
just
your
call it
license.
driving.
Yeah. But like we were talking about having like going away for training courses for getting new abilities because of the theme. I don't know if you were totally down with that, but that's what I was suggesting. And what is getting your license if not a training course? Right? It's the most common training course a person will go through in their life.
If you're learning from sitting in your mom and dad's lap, over the
you still have to go to the training course, bro.
Yeah, well,
legally,
those didn't wear long, like
yeah, back when Shadow learned how to drive a car
on a Model T.
Back when Shadow learned how to drive a car, they were still made out of wood.
And
powered by horses.
Here you can, if for certain reasons, you can just go in and take the test. If you pass the test, that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do driver's ed through high school, but
no. That's how it is here. You just take the test and they make you do like a road test
Mhm.
with a driver on the second wheel, but that's like
Yes.
a like
Same here.
yeah.
But you got to pass the written test first. But
Yes.
we're
yes.
digressing.
I never did the driving course, to be honest. I just passed the test.
They let
I'm
you
one
do
of those
that?
people. If they've let us do that for a short period of time, and that's when I was just the right age to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
And then they really figured out it was a bad idea.
Um
I don't think
here
it was
they
a bad
have
idea.
like the G2 and the G1.
Hmm.
And one of them is like you pass the test and you're just not allowed to drive on highways or in stormy
Yeah.
weather or
Oh, I guess that I did the driving class for motorcycle. That's the one I did.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Like Doc, the mechanics in TTRPG should be invisible as possible at the table. As soon as they start drawing attention to themselves, yeah, it starts feeling like a board game.
If you can't reference it off your character sheet, it's not something that you should be paying attention to. That's my opinion. The only thing you're allowed to reference during game is that piece of paper in front of you. Full stop, no exceptions.
Yeah.
And that even goes for the fucking game master who's looking up charts in the book to roll off of. He's still not allowed to look in the book.
I allow like a player's aid, right? If you, I'm okay with that. One page of notes.
Okay, yeah, but like you should be trying to focus things as I don't know. This is my opinion. You should be trying to focus your players into having like your rules into being basic enough that
Yeah.
you should be able to interpret what you need to do off of your character sheet.
Well, sometimes
Shadow,
you want a little more crunch, but
yeah,
That's one of the things I was thinking about. The Amber game. It you don't even have without using dice. It's so much more fluid once you understand it and you're in a good group. It's not a storytelling game, but you are role playing every second of everything, and you have to describe things, and by describing things in a concise and dramatic, possible way, brings you further and further into the character and the scene, etc. Instead of constantly, you don't even need to look at your character sheet. I mean, you can literally play this game, in the car. We've played it, driving, on road trips. I mean, how many role playing games can you do that where you could literally be role playing in the car or on an airplane or on a bus or?
Well, everyone's got tablets these days, bro. So they just
No,
boot up their VTT.
This is back in the '89, where there was none of that. You didn't need your character sheet.
you take off your laptop and you play the Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you, Shadow. I know what you mean.
No. I was looking at the thing. I don't care. You guys, we all fuck with each other. Some a little more than others, but yeah, I like the idea that
especially like none of like encounter table, random names. You can have like a GM screen, I guess. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'm also fucking with you. I mean, like the players should not be like spending time during the game ruffling through the book.
It's like like when I said at the beginning of the stream, like, well, not me, but somebody saying in the beginning of the stream, like, like sometimes we over exaggerate our point to make an effect. It's like I like try to minimize rustling through books. Yes, it's a
right.
over
And
generation.
think about it. Like I've played, for example, AD&D First Edition so much. I don't even need to bring my books to the table except for very specific, minute details that.
And then you just have Omen out there.
And that's the way it should be. You should be able to absorb the whole game, whether you're a player or a DM, to where you can just do your job.
If it's your first time too, right?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But a good game would help facilitate that by making things easy, not just easy,
easy to learn,
but easy to remember.
And also,
and
like
easy
one
to
thing that's
remember.
important, if
And
if
a
your
lot of that's
game,
layout, right? Like
if
I'm saying,
yeah,
the main, just let me get this one point out. The main reason why a lot of players have problem remembering the rules to a game is because it's laid out like a fucking newspaper article or a textbook, and that there's no like passion to remember things through like the way it's presented to you.
also oftentimes like the order is bad. Those games that give
That
you like
too.
that give
So
you
to
like character creation first, right?
Crispy.
Well,
That's
that's why
NLP.
when you make your tables, it should be really simple. 1 is bad, 10 is good. The lower you know,
Or
the
the other way
lower you
around.
roll, the shittier the thing is. You roll
Yeah.
10, it's like woohoo. So everybody, you just intuitively know that whatever the high number is,
And
well, you didn't roll the 10, you rolled an 8, so it's still good. It's still pretty damn good, but it's not like right home, to write home about it. And it's also not like you're on TV good.
Yeah.
if your system is good and makes sense too, right, and is logical,
Uh,
and once people like, get the logic of it, then they can make assumption about the, like, oh, I don't remember exactly this rule, but it probably works like that. And then after the game, you go look it up, and oh yeah, I was close enough, or I was right, and stuff like that. That's a good sign of it. That's a sign of
yeah.
a well-designed system. Right?
Like if you get the rule wrong and it still doesn't break the game because you're like, oh, well, you should have died, so, or like something stupid like that.
Well, yeah, nobody's going to
Yeah.
complain when you didn't die. It's when you do.
Yeah,
So,
or like well, I've left a game for not dying, so like I have complained about not dying, so
Yeah,
I,
that's
I can
also like
attest that out of my own personal as liberals will say, my lived experience is contrary to that.
what your crap series, like, we also have a hard time remembering rules because they didn't read them.
Well,
That can also be blame on layout. If you make the layout bad and the rules like painful to read,
yeah, or
that
like the
doesn't help.
book is unnecessarily thick
Mm.
because, like, okay, it's understandable if like you have a 300-page book and 100 pages is like a bestiary and 100 pages is like a module or two, and then you've got like
No.
10 pages for legalese, so you got like 80 or 90 pages for like the actual rule book, but those 80 or 90 pages are spread out across the 300 pages,
Yeah.
so the reader has to read the entire fucking book to know how to do how to kick somebody in the nuts.
Yeah.
Right, like that should be in the character, the rule section under how to kick somebody in the nuts, not halfway through what an owl bearer is, you
Yeah.
know.
But that's the big point I have with, like, also with, like, when people like start the book with character creation, and like Crispy here say like, oh, now that's the Palladium layout, right? Just like he's talking about Heroes Unlimited, yeah.
That's
But
almost every game layout, man.
the when games start with the character creation, like, and now you reference mechanics that I have no idea how they work, I cannot picture them in my mind, like making a scenario and stuff like that. So it's much harder for me to remember them.
You don't have to have everything isolated into its own section as well. You can spread things out, like in Morkborg that I mentioned all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You read that book, character creation is spread out through that book, so as you go through the 70
That's
pages
annoying as well, because if I just
it
want to make a
is,
character now, I want to have things together.
it can be, but like if it's the kind of game that once you figure out how to make a character, you know how to make a character. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and I do agree
And
with
that's
you.
also
But at the
like
same
the problem when
time,
they start with character creation. Oftentimes they're gonna explain, like, they're gonna do the character creation, and then they come across a mechanics that you kind of need to know to figure out what choice to make. So now they explain you that, and then later on when you try to remember, because, oh, I haven't played that game in a while, and I don't remember how this mechanic work. Now good luck fucking finding that, because it's buried in the character creation. Just tell me the mechanics,
yeah.
how things work, and
Well, it does force the players to read the book and actually learn the rules, at the same time. And because it's such a short book, it's less of a hassle, right? Like I said,
why?
80 pages. Like, okay, I have to go through 80 pages. 300 pages. I have to
Yeah.
go through fucking 300 pages, and
Yeah,
as
but, like-
long as the
Well,
the
like
order,
you said, oftentimes 200-page, like half of that is gonna be like GM stuff and bestiary and shit like that, right?
but sometimes there are fucking mechanics that you need to know buried in there. I know I was watching the thing and they were like that happens a few times with like items in 5th edition, because I was watching one of the guys that got the advanced copy for 6th, and it was like they finally put this in a place where it's somewhere where the player will be able to. I don't remember what the video was, but it was like this
It
is a
was
player
Jenny D,
facing.
folks. It was Jenny D.
No, I'm no. It's one of the guys that's been on one of our shows. Fuck, his name is like right there. I'll tell you later. There was a player facing rule that was only in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah.
When it
That's
should
a
have been in the player's handbook.
Sometimes it's also like, oh, I forgot about that, and then
yeah. Well, no,
But,
it's like it's a player facing rule that the DM has to remind the player about because the player doesn't have fucking access to it in the player's handbook.
Mhm.
Like, what the fuck? I think it had something to do with weight of magic items or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't fucking
like
matter.
encumbrance.
It was not encumbrance per se, but like something like to do with like magic and endurance of like. It doesn't fucking matter. It was like a stupid thing that like it's a rule designed to be broken just because it's not placed in the proper place. You know,
like I'm thinking of something now that we that I think might be essential that we skipped over. That should be mentioned, and that's failure state. Basically, something that dying.
Yeah, dying. Yeah.
Dying.
The death spiral, you mean? Like the death spiral.
Not necessarily that spiral. You can have like something like in D&D where you're like 100% until you get 0%, right? It's binary. You're either like fully functional or dead or like incapacitated.
Yeah.
But you need a way. You need something that say, well, that's gonna be the end of this character, right?
So
dead,
you like your hit points, or
you're
whatever.
awake, or if you do a dream stuff, or yeah.
So would
basically,
you do like would you do like fatigue and hit points kind of thing, or would you just mush it up into one?
It could be much like it could be something separate, but you need something like in easy D6. You take 3 strike and you're out, right? So somebody strike you once, well then you have 2 more strike to go, right? Very simple, no fluff about it. But you need something that's and it could even be like, well, if you get it once, you die, right? Like fucking, but you need to have something that you make your character fail, and that's the end of this character. I think that'd be an essential. I think I would put that in essential, even though we say like there was like those two, having a character that has something to distinguish himself and having a conflict resolution mechanic. I think I would add to that having a fail state.
Yeah. I do like the whatever your number is. If you get to 0, you're unconscious. If you get negative, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because like people do survive getting shot in the face.
Yeah. Like that happened to you, right?
No, I never got shot in the face.
Oh no. We would think so, looking at.
I did have this much of my nose ripped off.
Oh yeah.
Like this is my second nose, but not plastic surgery. It's just got scar tissue there. Like I had like this much.
But I don't care if you do like this thing, like, oh, you have hit point and at 0 and then -10, whatever. Like that for me, like that's in the detail. But you need something.
My nose is gonna bug me now for 3 days because I touched it that way.
Oh really? Cut it more. Spike your face.
I fucking hate my nose, man. So I'm gonna get the hammer and just tap here until I get like the
Perfect nose.
heraldic
Go see
Dr. Schlumenbaum about my
Yeah.
rhinoplasty.
Exactly. Go see one of those good old rhinoplastic surgeon. It's gonna give you like a nice little nose like mine. It's fucking huge. I don't think you have enough material to get a nose like mine.
No, he knows
I
it's
can
not
barely
that bad.
fucking. Well, it's up like at the bridge of the nose is so fucking wide. I can barely wear like glasses. It's like this fucking Neanderthal nose I have. Like it doesn't taper. It just like.
How do we get to noses?
Getting shot in the face
Shot in
and
the face. Yeah.
Because I
and
was thinking the other day, there's lots and lots of rules out there for taking damage, but that's not the same as like any of you who've worked out or ran a marathon. You can be completely out of gas, but
Yes.
not literally taking a point of damage. You're not
Yeah.
moving. You're not going anywhere until you catch your breath, and even then, you're not when you finally get up, you're still
Well,
not 100%.
even like in D&D, right? HP were meant to be kind of an abstraction, and that's a
And
big
yet
problem
they
with
never were.
they never were exactly. People said, "Oh, you take a scratch, mark off 1 point of damage." That's not how they're meant to be. But the problem with AD&D with D&D, it's
now here's what I might
It's an all or
suggest.
nothing thing.
This is up to you, Shadow. But we could do because we're basing everything around a D10 and like variable rolls on like a D10. We could do your life bar, your HP is a 1D10 minimum 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be anywhere from a 5 to a 10 in hit points. And I was saying, I don't know if you got this, but I was saying I like the if you get to 0, you're unconscious. If you get to -0, you're dead.
-0.
Like so, if you have
-0.
if you have
Any more damage after 0?
Yeah, like so if you have like 3 hit points and you take 4 in damage, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I was saying, like what got us on the noses is like people do survive taking a shotgun blast to the face. It's just highly unlikely.
The only problem I see is that okay, let's assume that you've got a character with 10, right? He's the baddest cop ever, right?
Yeah, he's
a tough motherfucker.
He's a tough motherfucker.
But
there
then
are like Arnold
having-
Schwarzenegger motherfuckers out there that just aren't tough motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You throw a feather at them, they're going down.
Right, but the problem I'm seeing,
which I think Arnold's probably one of those.
How much you have to come up with a system of damage that's really small.
Yeah.
Not really small, like a bullet does 1 point, but
no, I think like a fist does 1 point. A bullet
so like
can do
a set
anywhere.
number, like a set number as opposed to
the thing that you're hitting with does
X damage always.
Yeah, does if it hits you, like you are going through a minimum shock if you get shot, right? Like after the adrenaline rushes over, you're going through shock.
Yeah,
I don't care how much of a tough motherfucker you are.
Because otherwise,
do you want to have like malice and shit like that if you have if you get damage?
Malice. Describe a mechanic. Like
any like penalties if you want. Any kind of like, oh, you're gonna -1 on your roll if you get below this threshold of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Below 5 because you say my minimum 5, right?
Yeah,
because like for example, we've all heard about the guy who's been shot like multiple times and lives, or stabbed multiple times and lives.
Yeah. Well, which obviously, if you have a health bar of 10, right, and the maximum a bullet can do is, Well, maybe it's also not just like the bullet does 3 plus whatever the opposing roll is over. Then you're getting into math.
No matter.
Yeah, math bad.
So okay, so now you say no math. You want to use a D10, and you want to have
Well,
one
it's
dice roll.
minimal, a minimal of like adding and subtracting as possible, right? Because the second you start doing even basic uh, additions and
Division.
whatnot, you're starting to think about that instead of like what your character's motivations in the scene are, right? Like most people can't actually do both.
Do you want to have any kind of like penalties and and bonus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you get shot, you're not running a marathon.
Yeah,
But I mean in general in the games, right? Like because like I think that I personally I think those are nice to have. I don't think they're must have.
I think a simple mechanic would be uh, for every
Yeah.
point you take is a negative on whatever the action is. You take 5 points, you're -5 to do whatever.
hmm and maybe that could be
-5. Oh yeah. Every point you take.
Just
Like,
subtract one from your rolls on doing things.
would you want to put like a damper on that? Like every point you take below 5, because you say like just say like a D10 minimum 5. So okay, everybody's gonna have at least 5 point, right?
yeah, because there's like you'd have to be a really fucked up individual to like what are you gonna be like? Just graduated police academy with fucking stage 2 cancer?
Yeah.
Like.
But something like that. Maybe
I'm just saying like
maybe it's -1 for every 2.
yeah.
But
That
now,
way-
like, are you getting into too matty? Is it getting too matty?
Could be.
That's the word, because like I am strongly of the opinion the more you're thinking about what the numbers are, the less you
You're
are
role-playing.
thinking about the playing of the role.
Because you do need the ability to be
before-
heroic.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
even if
hard
you-
to be a decent thespian while doing your taxes.
But
Well,
I think
like,
before yeah.
I was getting at like the heroic cop. He's been shot a couple of times, but he still managed to bring in the bad guys. You know what I mean?
What do you mean heroic cups?
Well, like
TV. We're talking TV and movies. Don't forget, we're talking TV and movies. Okay.
like we're talking like
I always think that
Columbo
you're the
or
bad
like
And we're also kind of talking like up to 1989.
yeah. So like heroic has a different definition for that time period.
Right now there's now being heroic will get you in jail.
Well, yeah.
But oh, fuck. There's so much joke I could make. Like I don't know. Not on.
Like,
not on
are
this
they
pod.
taking you to? Are they taking you to prison this week, or driving you over to the Scarborough Bluffs?
Yeah. Are they gonna?
In the '80s, cops got like a lot of our police reform in Canada had to do with the Toronto police literally driving suspects over to the Scarborough Bluffs and just beating them to a bloody pulp instead of
Bringing them in, yeah, it's a lot
instead of
easier
bringing them in.
paperwork.
What
Yeah.
what a bunch of
Paperwork.
heroes.
Well, they didn't have paperwork back then.
But I think the first thing when you work on a game, okay, is there any other essential that we miss? Now you need to have a character that can distinguish himself in some way that we can work on later. You need to have like some kind of like conflict resolution thing mechanic, and you need to have like a fail state.
Mm-hmm. A fail state, yeah.
I think of those 3 for me, and the conflict resolution mechanic is almost like the first one you need to figure out, because then everything else is going to build around that, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's useless to talk about like how damage will work if you don't have like this established already.
Yeah.
And when I was talking earlier about putting the cart before the horse sometime, like, right, having a tone, having a setting, is something you can define before your dice mechanic, because the dice mechanic should work with the tone that you want and the setting that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing you probably want to think about, right? Like the game I'm working on, Bastard Sword, it's a fairly generic setting, fantasy setting, stuff like that, but there's a definite tone, right? Where the game is supposed to be kind of uh like have a dire feeling, right? You're not hero and stuff like that. Like things
It's
are supposed to be
grim dark.
dangerous. Yeah, it's grim. That's what I was looking for. It's quite grim dark. And if you try to play like the hero and stuff like that, you're gonna die, right? That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But and the mechanics are based onto that. So in what you're doing now, like the game you're working on is investigator, like cops and PI, right? That's private
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah. Yeah, we're thinking like Columbo, Rockford Files,
Magnum
and everything
PI,
in between.
Remington
Yeah, yeah,
Steel, Hill
yeah.
Street Blues. Pick your exact flavor,
P-
but
p- pick your
it's
cop
a
show
big
from
it's
the
a wide
70s,
genre full of many
90s.
examples.
Yeah, that's
And
really a genre I'm not familiar with, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've never liked cops, so like I never watch any like cop show and stuff like that. Uh,
for us, especially in the States, growing up, every third show was something in that genre. It literally was for a very long time,
yeah.
because back then they weren't looked down upon like they are now. And we had police officers come to the school, so you would be
We
afraid
had
of
that
them,
too.
and you'd maybe even want to grow up to be one. Now,
Now they dress and act like an occupying army.
what do you mean, like?
I was being satirical.
Yeah,
They are an occupying army.
yeah.
Oy vey.
And we see that in Britain, right? Now
there's some
with the
places that are
We see
not
that
like that.
here,
Even
man.
here in California,
well, no, you see what's happening in Britain now, right? People like
Yeah,
protesting against stabbing, and now they make it illegal to be against stabbing, I guess.
yeah. Durch Stammer is
Yeah.
threatening to call
Anyway,
the army. Oh yeah, sidetrack. It's like
if we go on that way, we can go fucking deep, and that's
we'll
gonna be
have to
real.
violate that rule that exists solely for me.
Yeah. So now like the thing, okay, you have your tone, which I don't know if you can explain it. Like I get the theme, but because I'm not familiar with those kind of shows and stuff like that, I don't really understand the tone that it would come with
well,
that.
in essence, it's an investigative game. It's
Yeah,
it's supposed to be more around the finding of the clues to solve the crime.
yeah, but
Think of your great murder mystery movies, Murder on the Orient Express, things like that, Sherlock Holmes. Maybe it's not necessarily a murder mystery, but you're trying to gather the clues to come up
now
with the.
after my show this afternoon, Max and I talked for maybe like a half hour,
Okay.
just like random stuff, and that topic came up, and we were like, well, I was like, the like Max was like, it's annoying playing those games where everybody is just trying to guess whatever the game master thought of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it would be better if the game master just created that opening scene. Like how all those shows open up with like there's a
Yeah.
dead body in an alleyway, or
Castle was great like that.
yeah,
Castle was absolutely phenomenal with that.
yeah. Well, all of them are. Like Murder She Wrote was like really good for that. Even though I never really watched that show, it was more everyone else I lived with watched that. But like all those shows usually have that opening. Here's the crime happening, then the credits roll, and then so the game master should come up with that scene, and then be just as surprised of who did it and how we got to the resolution as the party is.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
think-
I
like
think-
Clue, then. You're thinking like the actual game of Clue.
Yeah, like
Nobody
Clueless makes sense.
knows.
Yeah,
Well,
where
who
the game
did this
master is
what?
more like facilitating the discovery of what's going on instead of knowing what the result is.
Yeah, I think well that's my thing, right? I think like the players don't come to the table like to be told a story about the GM or to figure out what the GM thought of, right? Like, oh, like
Right,
this is the
because
intrigue after.
any good player, worth his salt.
But
Oh,
it's
my
also
comic.
it's also something that that drag you out of character because like, oh, now it's your mate that is the GM, and now like you know him and you know the movie he likes, and you probably think like that, right? Just like
Mhm.
that's why that's the mindset it's putting you in, which I think it's a bad one for role playing game because it's taking you out of your character. I think
You're now playing against say Shadow's the
yeah,
GM. We're now playing against Shadow instead
yeah,
of playing against
and even when you're GM,
adversary in the
right?
game.
You try to create like, oh, I'm gonna try to create this mystery that's gonna wow my player, and so like that's a bad attitude from a GM as well, I think, right? Just like
Mhm.
come with a premise, and then like because if you think about a story, right? Like the story, it's not a GM, is not the author of the story. Everybody at the table are the author of the story,
The
and I think
GM
like
comes
the
up with the
mystery,
premise,
yeah, the
not the
mystery, yeah, exactly. That you get the ball rolling, but then like you should discover the mystery and the culprit in the same time as the player, basically, right? Maybe just always be one step ahead, right? But
What do you think of that, Shadow?
I think it's got a lot of flaws because you can't. How do you create the clues if you don't know what happened?
Um,
let the player create them.
that or you can have like tables to roll on,
Right, but then you'd
right?
have to like have okay. All right, everybody. Now I'm rolling. You know,
No,
you in order to you'd have to have like a phase where the GM now then rolls who is the actual criminal. And sometimes that's not always the case because you just saw the guy do the crime and you're chasing the guy. You know who he is. You see what I'm
well,
saying?
in those cop shows, the cops rarely ever see
Right.
the
They
Or
actual
rarely
crime
they
see
happening.
the opening scene, so to
or
speak.
they
Yeah,
see him like a
They
okay,
get
was
security
there
the
and then
camera.
gardener all along, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
they
yeah.
but yeah,
So
they don't know it up front, right? Just like once they
they,
figure out who the killer is, then just go arrest him, and
yeah,
it's there.
you would almost need to do what you guys are talking about, like the equivalent of a deck of cards to play it like Clue, where you lay down the Clue cards or the criminal card or whatever face
No,
down
no,
in front of the players, and then have to pull them up at certain points throughout the game, and that
not
turns it
necessarily.
into a board game.
Not necessarily. You can let the player lead, right? You can. It's all like it's about like sharing the narration, stuff like that. Like you present a crime scene, and the player interact and have the character do stuff in the world, and then like you respond to that, and that is where the clues are created. Like as you go through the game, and then the player are gonna talk about amongst them, and they're gonna figure out something off, and then you pick one of the position that they go and say, you know what, I'll go with that, or that's not good enough. Like they're stretching
Yeah,
now.
I don't know that
well,
I don't know that this
put it
works.
this way. Put it this way. Okay, so I'm the cop or the PI, whatever, and there's a murder, there's a body, and I'm in the alleyway, and I turn, and I'm looking around, and I'm role playing that. I'm like, I look across the ground. I'm searching through the pile. I move some stuff around. I find a pipe. Right? I find a pipe. It's got a red substance on it. I bag it. Right, and then you as the DM will like come back later. Like you write that down. Pipe found by Justin's character, red substance on it, and then you, as the game master, turn around and say like later on in the game, you know that pipe you found, that red stuff, it's just fucking paint,
Mhm.
where it could have been blood, right? That could have been a clue. Me as the player made that up, role playing, right?
Mhm.
And that's a clue. And you could choose to say, okay, that red substance on it is or is not blood. Is it blood? Is it blood from the victim, or maybe some animal, or from a totally different crime that now gets put into a cold case file? Because like, where the fuck did blood on this pipe come from? You don't know.
Yeah,
That could
and
be a
is it,
lead.
and it's the fact that it's the pipe. Is that the clue about who the culprit is, right? Is it like
Yeah.
a
Do we
plumber?
find fingerprints on that? And
Yeah.
then, okay, we found fingerprints, but they're not in a database anywhere. So Max's character goes and interviews a gardener. He just made up the NPC for a gardener. You write
Yeah.
that down as the game master, Well,
and then maybe the game master, you see like, well, you notice like there's a gray stain on his finger, and then like now like what is that about? Oh, it's the potty, like the plumber potty, stuff like that, right? Whatever,
yeah,
right?
or the oil from an
The
untreated
oil, yeah.
metal pipe or whatever, right? Like,
Rust, yeah, you could be
yeah.
like, you could have said that.
So do you pull them in for questioning? You say that to the players, and if they pick up on it, do they pull them in for questioning, or do they forget all about them? Right, like, and then if they pull him in for questioning, does his prints match the pipe prints? As the game master, you say yes or no on that out of your own imagination, right? Like, you have the interpretation, and then also, like, those are just like player facing introduction of items. You also have the ability to introduce your own items,
Yeah.
right? Because you're the game master, you have like primus rights on introducing things in the world.
And
Just
not
Yeah,
only that, but when the player introduces something, you can always like temper it, moderate, and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Just like
yeah, I find that
like I said, the player found something with red substance that looks like blood on it, but you don't want
Yeah.
it to be blood, so you get to turn it into
Exactly.
paint or jam
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Yeah. Or yeah, it's dog blood.
Yeah.
Somebody beat a dog in the
I don't
street.
know.
Or whatever.
I'm having a
Yeah,
hard time.
then you have to like look around for a kid beating dogs with pipes.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this as a 40. I think there's
Yep.
got to be a little bit more or less 40, a little bit more of, I know you guys are saying, playing against the GM, knowing how they're going to do things. But if they're,
Yeah.
if they're rolling it up randomly, like we were talking about, you roll a random crime and then you put it together.
Like, there should be a mechanic in the book for a crime being randomly rolled up, because some like that's a customer facing idea, because there are people that are too stupid to do that.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to just make up an alley,
No, what I mean is like
and create a crime,
where the players are,
no, the players don't make up what the crime is.
right. But they
Yeah,
they could invariably make the crime easier to solve by playing that way.
Well, that's the thing. You don't want to have like, you don't want like that wouldn't be a game that would work with people that just want to win, right? Like
Mhm.
like the point of it is not that to solve the mystery. The point is to have like an interesting story being developed, right?
Yeah, I would
That's the
say it's
point. I
about
think that's something you would need to stress if you want to go this
I think it's
route.
about a third of the process.
Because
You know
also
what I
like the thing is if you
Yeah.
if you make the game about solving the mystery, now you're going back to Clue. You're moving away from role playing game because
Right.
now
That's
it's
why I
not
said
like
a third.
yeah, because now it's not like you're not in character anymore. You're just like you as a player trying to solve the mystery.
Well,
Like that's gonna happen invariably.
It's like watching like Columbo. You don't just like watch the opening sequence with the murder or the theft and then
And then
skip
skip the end. Yeah.
skip to the end. Like a lot of players do that, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that this fucker and his people are trying to break
Yep.
people of doing.
Because if you make the game not about actually solving the mystery, because it's not about like solving the mystery or not, it's about like the process through it, right? It's not about like the destination, it's about the journey. If you take away the idea that it's about solving the mystery, there's a definite answer to get through, then you free the player to role play their character. Like now you're free to be in to slip in
Yeah.
the
Except for
skin
the
of
fact
that
that
character.
I mean, unless you're playing the dirty cop, as a cop,
Yeah,
your
you can
sole
play that.
purpose is to do the job. Just like with other role playing games, you have an occupation or a goal or character
Well,
class, whatever. You're
even
trying
dirty
to role
cops
play
do the
doing
job,
that.
right? Even dirty cops do the job. It's
You do a
it's
job.
well,
But you see what I'm saying? Part of role playing is role playing the part of someone who wants to do the thing. That is
Yeah.
very important to them. That's why they took the job is to make the streets safer. Therefore, to do that, they've got to do the job, which is solve the crime.
Yeah, but their way of doing the job might be different than what the player would be, right? You can play somebody that is
Then
not you.
they play private eyes instead of cops.
yeah.
Because trust me, when you're in
No, but I mean,
strict law enforcement, there's a
Yeah.
by the book expression
Yeah.
for a reason. You're doing the things because it's a tried and true method of accomplishing the goal, which is solving the crime.
even if it's bad, but yeah,
but
there's
if
a
you
procedure.
do this kind of game, like all your characters should be like Maverick that don't play by the rules.
Well,
Oh, absolutely. That's
there's a
that's the
procedure.
fun part of the role playing is like we were saying earlier, differentiating you from the rest of the pack. You've
Yeah.
got to find a way to make why would this be on TV or a movie? Well, because the characters
The
are
guy
like,
chomps on a scar and wears a fucking rain slicker all the time.
you could use MASH is a good analogy.
Yeah.
They were doctors, but each character had these crazy, quirky traits to them that made you want to watch them, but they're still doing the job. But because of their quirkiness or their demeanor or what have you, that made you, love or hate the character and want to keep watching the character. Or in this case,
it made me hate the characters.
I never
There
watched
were
any
some-
MASH.
I fucking hate
it was a cultural phenomenon here for a reason. It did so much in the short hour that it had every week, and there were good guys and bad guys, and they all had to work together. But that's the way a good role-playing team would be. You're gonna have your jerky player, you're gonna have your hardcore nerd player, you're gonna have your statistician player, you're gonna have the one character that just always is great at what they're doing.
Yeah. But still, the more you focus the rules and ethic of the game system into sticking into character mode, the more likely the players playing the game will do that. Yeah. All right, and that's a problem with a lot of role playing games is they don't teach you to convince yourself to role play. And like we see that in the Sunday night game, there are people playing it that will not actually look around and do things because they're afraid they'll lose like their half turn or whatever, right?
Yeah,
it's annoying.
Yeah, like I often say, like sometimes like just taking your turn, saying like, well, I look around and reassess the situation, right? If you want to get some information, like that's a fine turn, right? That's what you do.
It's a valid and legitimate thing to do, but like there are
Then you need to
players
do
that
something when you're
are
like in a crisis situation, right? Sometimes you need
trained
to take a
to.
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
trained to try to pack as much efficiency as possible, as much DPS as possible in every round. DPR, I guess, damage per round, or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
and in doing so, they miss the
fun.
It's the journey, not the destination.
Exactly.
And that's the point of like I'm not going to go full 4D. I don't want to go full 4D. I find it tedious and annoying and gay. I need a fourth thing and find a way to get all those words starting with a D.
Right.
What's a word that means gay but starts with a D?
I don't think
What
it is.
is? I need.
If I was Bubba, I would say degenerate.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with degenerate. Degenerate works.
But that's Bubba. That's Bubba talking. That's not me.
But so dice mechanic.
Yeah.
If you want to play like cops and you want to do that procedural show, your character should be expected to be competent in the thing they're competent at, right?
Well,
you should have players that are expected to succeed.
Yes.
Most of the
In
time,
the
if
thing
not
that-
all the
in the-
time.
Most of the time, in the
Unless
thing that
you're
they're
playing
good at.
against type, in which case you're not coming to the table.
No, you
Yeah,
can
but
do
like-
that.
well,
You'll just die quickly.
Yeah, but you could have, and what? So then, like, do you want to have like those action scenes? Is there going to be chase? Is there going to be like gunfight and stuff like that?
That's like a, it should build up to that. Not always, but a good episode will have that one scene of something like that, and then maybe it's just a tussle in the alley. maybe it's a shootout, maybe it's a
Maybe
car
it's a
chase.
yeah, or an alley
if you-
chase, right? Because you get that
I-
you get that scene where like the cop is having to hurdle over every backyard fence,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
I feel
the
like
three-
this. It seemed like this game would work better with smaller group.
yes,
Oh, absolutely.
we were thinking
4
uh,
times.
between 2 and
Oh,
4.
that much?
So it would be either one duet or two teams of 4, like you got 2 squad cars or whatever.
Two
Pairs.
team of
2
two
pairs.
basically, like
Yeah.
2 pairs. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Pairs.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way,
I
you've
said
got
in
that way you
French, for fuck's sakes.
you can break from this group to this group. They're investigating one part of the thing, or maybe something different, and maybe they meet at the end. Because
that could work.
hey, you found this clue and I found this clue. Hey, it leads to this place in the middle.
There was a really big trope because I used to watch Law and Order on my grade school lunch break. It was either Macmillan and Wife or Law and Order when I come home from
You told me it
school.
was Macmillan and Wife.
Yeah. It was Macmillan and Wife, and then when they ran through that, they started playing Law and Order on A&E. And then I think it was like a different channel was playing. It doesn't matter. Like there's Time Warner.
Oh,
and
it doesn't.
it doesn't matter. But there was this big break in like season 3 to 7 of Law and Order, the original series, where they'd have the two cop teams, and they'd be working on 2 different investigations, and they get to about the midpoint of the episode, and it'd be the same case.
Yeah.
Always, every single fucking time, there'd be like a rape over here and a murder over there, and it would be like, no, the same person did both of them.
Mm-hmm. You can't. You can do that like once every 4 or 5 seasons.
It was like
maybe.
every fucking episode.
No, I know that's too contrived, and nobody would watch
Gene
it.
Wolfe, what do you expect?
Yeah, you're right.
But so if you have so let's say you have 4-player, which I think should be there are I could see that work well with 2-player plus a GM. 4-player, if you do 2 team, that could work. But now that means you need to have kind of 4 niche that player can distinguish themselves. Otherwise, if it's just about being not everybody can be Columbo, right? Somebody needs to be something different.
Well, I would definitely say Columbo would be the smaller group, and then the larger one would be Squad Car 1 and Squad Car 2.
Well, actually, I was thinking, you could have larger groups if you're doing the PI thing, because then you've got different people. In either case, though, you're going to have.
It would get very hectic at the table if you're having 4 or 5 different investigations at the same time.
Well, no, not different investigations. Think about it like your typical fantasy RPG. Each player has their specialty, okay, or a background that gives them insight.
Yeah, but if you do
it's the 80s,
you do
you don't got a
thing,
hacker.
not everybody would they wouldn't walk around all the same group at the same time, right? Just maybe you need to those should be NPC'd, right? Oh, I need the guy that can act this thing. Oh, okay, I'm gonna find my hacker and I'm asking him to do a thing for me, right? Or I need somebody to pick the lock. Then you bring him over, he pick the lock, and then he's done, right? He's out of the picture. You don't need him anymore.
Or you took the weekend course and just learned how to fucking pick locks, you goddamn idiot.
If you're a PI, probably. PI.
No, even cops get that, man. Even that's in basic training. There's how to run a rake.
The little
they even learn how to run a rake. It's
running a rakes. That's the easiest thing you can do, but it works.
But most locks can be defeated with a rake. So it's not like it's something that you need a specialist for.
You saying that, right?
The good cop, bad cop thing. When you do that.
Well, the bad cop is the one who takes the bribe to look the other way at the resolution.
No. I don't mean that. I mean when you're interrogating. Okay, you've got the good cop, the bad cop routine. One guy's like, "I'm trying to help you out," blah blah blah, and then the other guy comes in, "Get out of here," and starts being a jerk. And then the good cop comes back in.
That's one thing that I would say. Personally, I would have it so there is no actual there is no actual role in that for the player. That it's like they have their whatever skill, say it's their intelligence number, and if they role play a scene and they do a good job, then the DM can like discreetly roll and say, yeah, you succeeded over on that number.
Well, if anything, it would be whether or not the guy breaks.
Yeah, but like
or screws up.
Yeah, well, you could then use that NPC's health number and like how far you get along that is like how thoroughly you've broken that character. I don't know. We'd have to work something out for that, but definitely I would want interrogation to be a heavily role played thing.
Oh yeah, the interrogation room is going to be, you know, a big part, because if you watch the way real crimes are solved, it's in that room that you get everything.
You probably need, like in that case, something like outside of HP, something like resolve or something like, you know, like that.
Yeah, we were thinking about I was thinking like the psyche number, you know, would determine you know, how much they can withstand before they start to sweat under the pressure.
Yeah, I just threw that number out there as like,
but
like,
yeah, we've
like
talked
pick
about
a number, and it could easily be your physical and mental health. Are usually two different things, but sometimes they aren't. Like a lot of people, their physical health is directly tied to their mental health, and vice versa.
Especially if they actually take care of themselves.
Yeah. MrMax is not one of those people because he's physically healthy and mentally not.
Yeah.
He's got a decent 8 in physical health and a 2 in mental.
You're generous.
I'm very generous in both cases.
Yeah. Well, physical health, I'm pretty decent, but
you are French after all.
Wait till you hit 40 or 50.
I'm about 40, Shadow. But
a day over 50.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm saying, I'm not too bad for a guy my age. That's what I'm saying. Exactly, right? Just, obviously I'm not in my 30s anymore, right? That's I feel it every fucking day. But
that grade's coming in nicely.
Oh yeah. But like if we think about characters, right? There's probably like 3 easy archetype in those kind of cup thing we can think of, right? The kind of nerd guy, the kind of like physical guy, more athletic and stuff like that, and the guy that is more social, right? The smooth talker, or the one that charismatic, the one that's
and then the hard ass, whether it be from ex-military, years on the beat.
Wouldn't that be like in the physical kind of type?
No, because there's often the kind of like what we call like the meathead. He's all about, you know, gung ho and go. You know, when he's not on the job, he's out jogging or mountain climbing or at the gym. But he's
playing pool.
He's more of like the adrenaline junkie kind of character, if you can imagine that. He's just all about the physicality of it, whereas the hard guy he's hardened from years of doing the hard shit.
But that's a personality. That's a personality trait. It's not about like what I'm talking about. Like it's about like what the character would be good at, right? So if you unlock different character in the party or in the group, right, the different players that have characters that are good at different things, so they can each have their niche, right? I think like the one like it's kind of like it's like intelligence, physical, and social, basically. Like
stat distribution
down, right? And you could have like one that is like hybrid kind of thing, jack of all trade, or like I'm like somewhat good in those two things. That's especially important if you have
Well, that's one of the reasons why I said I wanted that sort of pre-generated character sheet where you got to add stats with one die roll, is because that character sheet would be the minimum success. Like for a cop, it would be like if you got lower than these on any stats, you were washed out of police academy.
Yeah, because in the academy, you literally have to graduate in like between 13 and 19 different categories.
But also, if you're above this stat, you get kicked out of an academy.
you
The
can.
intelligence and social, right?
You
Yeah.
can't.
Like, oh, they
You
let you
can't.
go through it, but
If you're too good at making bombs, we want to keep you. But if you're too good at diffusing situations, we're throwing you out.
yeah.
Or we're promoting you.
No, they're just throwing you out because they want content.
Or you're getting scooped up by one of the 3-letter agencies.
No, these days you have to be gay and kind of rotund to get scooped up by a 3-letter agency.
But we're still
Yeah.
talking the 80s, so
Oh yeah. Why do you
Yeah,
want to do it in the 80s? Everybody want to make their game in the 80s and the 90s. Like,
because the
is it
80s was
because
the
like the
best
world
part of the
sucks
20th century.
since then? Well, I don't know about that.
well, like honestly, I originally was thinking anywhere from 1960 to 2060, but you said cell phones would fucking ruin the game, and Shadow made the same point. So
I said that? I didn't say
Well,
that.
yes, you
okay,
did,
here's the
like a
thing,
month ago.
Really?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I said cell phone ruins life.
No,
if
you were
if you
saying
are-
it would also ruin.
It
ruin
could,
an
but if you're
investigation game.
playing, say 2050, right?
Yeah.
If the players want to try a 2050 game, the year 2050, then there are going to be some other considerations, and a cell phone is just going to be one of the bare minimum things. That's right off the bat.
internet
That's
and-
you're going to have a whole lot of other things because of new kinds of crimes and things like that. It's
No,
not.
you need somebody to look at the browser history and. Oh, he went to 4chan. He was one of those. He got the frog in my head. That's the always.
Well, I
fucking
mean,
do that,
if
those
you're
fucking-
me.
if you're gonna play like a sci-fi cop game, which
You
is
got
an
a new
option,
type of crime.
yeah, you are gonna have all kinds of new types of crimes that the
Oh,
the
no.
The game this week is somebody misgender somebody on Twitter.
Yeah. So you get it opens up with you need a new partner because your partner got arrested for police brutality for beating a child rapist in the street. But then you're assigned a misgendering case,
the
and then
gender
you get
fluid partner.
no. The partner's still an aberrant normal. But you get assigned a case where somebody was misgendered, and then you get written up for not beating them in the street.
Yeah.
You were not harsh enough. You're suspended.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Oh,
but
you
anyway,
gotta think about
that's
that one.
that's something you need to think about. Like those, like what kind of character player can play that
Mhm.
are different enough that they're avid. Because then
Well,
you look at something like
why
Sherlock Holmes and Watson, right?
Yeah.
They're not very different. It's just like Sherlock Holmes is like Watson, but better at everything. You cannot really do that, I think.
No. He was a doctor, whereas Holmes was not. He had very specific
Who cares about the
skills
Holmes-
of expertise. What?
Holmes could have become. Holmes could have become a doctor. He just never applied himself to
Right,
the
and therefore he doesn't
he
have
didn't
all
take the
the
training course.
and
Like,
therefore he doesn't have the specific knowledge. And with the game we're working on, you're going to get the template of say the cop, but then you'll have X points to spend on various things that will allow you to make yourself different. Now, if everybody picks the exact same, let's call
What
it
about
perks,
consultant?
What?
Consultant.
Consultant? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
those
you're
things
not,
are
you're not,
just
you're not a
PI.
cop. Yeah. Well,
Well,
not
the-
necessarily a cop, but sometimes cops gonna hire. Like,
right.
for an
I did some security
investigation.
consulting work.
Yeah.
That only comes with previous experience and really good contacts.
No, but I mean,
If
like
you don't-
sometimes
if
like
you
they're gonna hire like
The medium.
it's a trope, like the medium or the doctor
Uh-huh.
or the or the,
Yeah,
the
I
nurse,
think those
right?
are NPCs, bro.
You
Yeah.
think they are?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think those are NPCs.
otherwise you're like.
You,
did you guys
you
ever
have like
watch
old show
Lucifer?
like the Mentalist, right?
Did you ever watch
Yeah.
Lucifer? That show
Yeah,
recently.
I'll watch Lucifer.
Okay, the cute Latina that was in the lab.
Yeah.
She was like the consultant. She was that kind of. You could run a character like that, but you're going to be spending most of your time in the freaking lab.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're not going to
You've
be
gotta-
playing the game.
You've got to be in. You've got to be. What do they call it?
A doer.
Yeah, you've got to go
An
out
agent.
and do the things. Go out to the
Yeah.
cases. You got to get in the car and drive to the thing, the place, whatever.
What about like
and go
show
from
like
there.
Lied to Me, right? Was that a
Oh,
show?
that was a great show. That's one of
Yeah,
my favorites.
Lie to Me. But those are like
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
They're-
They're not up. They're consultant.
yeah, they are
Or
that's not a that is a that's a competency porn show, not a
Not a police
uh
procedural.
police procedural.
Okay.
The police
What
procedural is
about
happening in the background of that show.
what about those agency, like like the X-File? Like I know that's more like a paranormal kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
like,
we're still going that route with a chapter that will allow you to go that route.
yeah,
Because
like
if you want to play an agent, it's not much different.
yeah.
Scully in that is a doctor, right?
But she's also a field agent.
Right.
She just happens to have like a medical degree in.
And if you wanted to roll up a character or play a character that has
Yeah.
So
taken-
maybe it could be like something what you did before you went to the academy. What did you
Yeah.
do
Right,
before
that's
you
why we have
showed up?
the military as a background or
Yeah.
potential background. Because if you go in to the military and then you get out and you then go into the academy, you're going to be leaps and bounds above the average.
So how can I make a character that's different than Justin's character?
So at
Lots of
base, at base, what we're thinking of doing, and this is still like early stages, is you have that. Say you're playing a cop, because I think the PI will be the like create a character from scratch system that
Kind
like
of.
the advanced mechanic, or we could figure out a template for that. But say you're playing a cop, and you pull that sheet out of the back of the book. That's a rookie fresh out of the academy, right? But then you get 1d10 to roll, and whatever you roll, you can add to that character, whether it be boosting the core stats, buying a special skill, or maybe say you roll an 8, and we have like you can select from this list of background like advantages,
Mhm.
like whether it be medical training or military training, or you were a fucking Boy Scout or whatever, and they have like a heavy cost, like say 4 or 5 points. That
That's
you can,
very
like, add in.
chancy. It's not something that really bothers me.
Well,
It's
But
very what?
it
They're-
will bother
they're
us a lot. Chancy.
chancy, like there's a lot of chance to that.
If you roll
Um,
1d10 and like, oh, I roll 1, oh, I roll 10, roll 1, your character is gonna be fucking
Yes,
better than
but
mine, right?
don't forget that the sheet you pull out of the back of the book is a fully viable character as it is, even
Yeah.
if you don't roll anything.
Yeah,
that
it's kind of like
character
in the old days when
It's
you
super
when you're at
survivable.
think about the old days, or maybe you don't remember, but you could go to the table, everybody's rolling up characters, and your stats are crap, so you're the thief.
Yeah.
Well,
It's the equivalent. And in this case, you roll a 1. Well, you're playing the rookie. Okay, get used to playing the rookie.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Sometimes the
like
rookie,
I said, for me it doesn't bother me, but I know like some people will be bothered by that. I guess like then they can always like say like whatever, like make
Yeah.
homebrew stuff.
well,
there's-
like,
there's-
even that 1d10 roll isn't like an optional rule.
Mhm.
Like it should like we're just gonna play the character sheet as is, and if you
Well, then
survive this
everybody would have the same one, or
well the same like statistical
Template.
stats,
yeah.
right? But if you survive this first mission, well, you can go for a training course and get like an extra skill in something.
Why don't
And
you
that's
give
done
a training course?
games.
Why don't you take an
Well-
extra training course for everybody when you
Well,
start?
Well, that's the list of abilities that you would get. Like, so training
Yeah.
course would be like in like sniper or something like that.
But you know
right?
what? Instead of like you get the rookie cup, and then everybody can take a training course from like before the first mission. So everybody like is a little bit different, right? You don't always have the same guy.
Well,
I think I think that's important. If we're just like
be a simple mechanic, Justin. With a
yeah,
one-
but that's what that D10 is for, right?
Well, what
Like
you do
can
with
easily
that
throw one
is
of those points into
you
a training course instead
you
of
make
a stat.
a list of, like he said, like say training courses that all cost one. That are
Yeah.
just a little bit of enough to make you completely different. Like, okay, you went to sniper school, or you have, maybe it's not necessarily a training course,
Well,
but it's something that you can buy
I'm
with the
thinking,
1 point.
I'm thinking like all those stuff are like 1 point, except for the bundles.
Oh,
The bundles,
what about
like military or medical, or like the things that really require
just a wild
an
idea
in-depth
here?
years of your life.
What if the cost of a training class is 1 plus 1 for every character that already took the class?
So that other people
Why?
won't duplicate it.
So people like, so if you want to duplicate a skill, it costs you more, and then you can justify it like in fiction by saying, well, like the plays are limited for that class, and if you do the dice roll thing,
The only
then the
problem
guy
with
the guy that
is who
rolled
goes
the
first.
lowest always choose first.
Mm-hmm. Those are optional rules you can put in.
That's in the weed, right? But that's
yeah,
not
like
what we
that's
should
why
talk
I'm
about
like
now.
saying throw those in as like optional.
That's not that's not what we should talk about now. Is like all your character are different from one another, like in big picture thing, not in like, oh, this guy has a 9 in this skill and this guy has a 7, right? That's not like, because we don't even know like the dice mechanic yet. So you need to figure out how a character is different from another, and then from that you need to figure out how you fucking do the mechanic resolution.
I think a lot of that would come into play through how you role play. Because let's face it, we've all been to tables.
Obviously from when you role play, but you
Yeah.
also have to have a mechanical way to be different from one another.
I like the idea of those being subtle, because you're talking about modern training levels, and that's one of the things with like that minimum graduation competency.
It occurs to me that what makes one cop different from another is literally what they were before they were a cop.
Well, some people are going to be smarter, some people are going to be like stronger, some people are going to be like, all kind of stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Those are possibilities where you can take the 1 to 10 points and put them into your stat, because maybe that's what you want, because you want to have the mechanical advantage through the stat being smarter or stronger.
We're not talking about stat, because like, are you gonna have attribute, or are you gonna have skill?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be a skill-based game? Like, we don't have like, we're just talking about big flavor, big picture attribute there, big picture, not attribute, not even attribute, like big picture, like, if you can tell like one word to say this character, like, oh, this guy's the jock, this guy's the nerd, this guy's the smooth talker, this guy's is the autist, this guy, whatever, right? Just like
autist.
I'm thinking about monk, right?
Yeah. No, I was just making it clear for the audience that you said autist instead of like artist, because
I heard Otis.
Yeah, I heard Otis too,
Otis.
but I know what you meant because
I didn't. I'm like, Otis.
No.
I was thinking of a character named Otis, but anyways.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just clarifying that.
I think that would
that's
be
what I'm talking about. Like you probably I think, because if everybody is just like, everybody is just like different flavor of Colombo, they're just like, this guy is slightly better at getting fingerprint, and this guy is slightly better at finding air on the carpet. And this guy is slightly better,
I don't think anyone is going to be starting this game as Colombo. Like, unless you're playing a one player game, like we're aiming for like a 1 to 5 shot sort of.
Right. Or for whatever
I don't know much of those things, but if you look at the NCIS, right, you have a bunch of like cops there, right?
Yes, but they're like, okay, they're crime scene investigators, but they're, for the most part, they're all on the same level of profession, right? There is no real Columbo in that show. There's the veteran.
There's probably the guy that is
older,
more impetuous, and the guy that is more reason, and the guy that is more charming, and
Yeah.
You can probably like say like, oh, this guy, that's a stroke. Is this thing, right? And I think that you probably need to have that as well.
That's built into the D10 at the beginning. If you choose to put your 1 or 2 or 10 points into your stats, then you are the charming guy because you put your bonus there.
into
Or
like the equivalent of a charisma or whatever we have.
right, or you want to be the jock, well then maybe you put 2 points in your
Into
physicality
strength,
type of stat,
yeah.
and then you look like the jock, you act like the jock, but that's a huge part of it, isn't it? The how you act or play the character, you can develop all kinds of things without numbers just by role playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people.
Wait. I want to ask this question. Why is Shadow the one arguing for more role playing in this fucking conversation, Max?
Because
Because
that's
that's what
obvious.
this is all about. Is
Because
No,
that-
he's
I
the
don't- like,
4D
I'm not- like-
motherfucker.
No,
He's
because
the
that's
4D motherfucker. Why is this guy arguing for more role play than
because
this
that's
guy?
obvious that those things can be displayed. Like even if you're the jock, right? You can role play in multiple way. Like jocks are not all the same, right? You still have like subtlety in that. You still have a
what's your
personality and stuff
sport?
like that.
Like,
What's
But
your,
it's because like he's talking about role playing because he's not answering my question, which is mechanical.
No,
It's
no,
system. We're talking about like designing a
mechanically,
game
well,
now.
we
We're
did.
talking about the game stuff, right?
Well, no, mechanically, it's where you put your points at the beginning will mechanically determine that you're better at these things because those numbers are higher. Okay,
But at
when
this thing, it means you need to have some kind of attribute for physicality, for
right. Your basic stats. If you put your bonus points into your stats, depending on which stat you put it in, you're going to be different because most people are probably actually not going to want to put their extra points, if you will, into their stats. They're probably going to be thinking elsewhere. And if you've only got 3 or 4 players,
so
I'm thinking, the odds of people doubling up are pretty rare.
I think there are 3 places. Like you roll that D10 and you get, say, a 5. There are 3 places you can choose to put those 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Either boosting a stat, picking a special skill, or a lineage, like your life, like a
Life
special like a special
path
thing you
bonus.
did in your life, right? So there are 3 areas.
Like you're related to somebody famous, or your parents
not,
are very, like brutally
not
rich.
even that, like the military training thing you're talking about, like things that would be mechanically advantaged.
Or your old man was a cop. Something like that.
You were well, that would be
Born to be a cop.
Okay.
What was that show? What was that show with the goofball that was a private detective? He pretended to be a psychic, but he wasn't.
Psyched.
His father was a cop,
one of the
so he
reasons I
got
keep going back
all
to
those skills.
role playing is, if you've noticed, we keep referring to procedural shows, okay? And in those shows, the characters are overacting, okay? They're accentuating their uniqueness in various ways, that because they don't have, most of them don't really have high stats,
except for
You know
Law
what I
and
mean?
Order, but they had no personal lives.
right? So they're overplaying their advantage, whatever that might be, over each other, because that's how you show, I guess, in a situation like this, how different you are and where you're different, so that you keep getting like these assignments, or it's like I said before, where it's your turn to shine, is because it's your wheelhouse. This is what you're good at, so this is where you're going to ham it up when you're doing whatever the thing is that you're good at.
okay.
I was expecting to develop a checklist out of this fucking episode, bro.
You got 4 things.
Yeah, we got to hear 4 things. Like, I'm gonna ask you another question.
Yeah.
Also, you keep like going on tangent and not replying to my question. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Okay.
I thought we did, but
What?
answer your question.
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. More or
Move that
less.
cat's butt out of my fucking view, man.
Well,
I've seen more sphincter today than I have in the rest of my life.
is there's basically 3 big family of a role-playing game,
Yeah.
which are class-based, skill-based, or aspect-based. Do I need to explain those to you? And
Just
then you can have
aspect.
hybrid.
Aspect.
What is aspect?
Explain them all, just in case somebody's watching this video in like
Nobody's
5
watching
years
this
and has no idea what the fuck you're
Okay,
talking about.
class base. Obviously, it's like D&D. You get your character get good at something because you're part of a class, and then like as you level up and stuff like that, you get more class feature. I don't think that's right for you.
No.
Skill
No,
base is you have your character have some skill that would be like traveler, and then your skill or Call of Cthulhu would be a skill base like that. Your character got some skill, and then your skill improve as you get better at stuff. When the way you interact with the world is mostly through skills.
Mhm.
The aspect base are those game like Fate and or Barbarian of Lemuria, where you have like those general aspect, saying like this my guy was a soldier, very
Mhm.
broad. And then if you do something that you could justify you would be good at because you have this aspect, or sometimes you can be like my guy is my guy is very good in my guy is always at home at a bar, right?
Mhm.
And then you're in a situation where you do like you're in a bar and you do bar stuff. Then you get a bonus to your role because you're in your element.
So
Like
basically,
you're
like
doing something according
bullshitting.
to your aspect. Yes, basically
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I like the skill based system, but pared down. So I was thinking, and
Yeah, when you go skill
obviously,
based, you can have like broad skill or like narrow skill and stuff like that. That's a
yeah,
big
like
distinction.
and obviously I'm working with Shadow, so he gets a veto, yay or nay on ideas. But say we used sniper as one. So say you got sniper. So before you go and learn how to become a sniper, okay, you can shoot in the general direction of that person, but if they're a distance away, you're probably not going to hit them. But if you got it, okay, I know how to be a sniper, so I can now shoot at that person at a distance using my normal roll instead of a penalty. And then if I get good at it, I now get a plus at it. And then if I become expert at it, I now get like a
Do more
double,
math.
like, but like a maximum of like can do +1, +2, and +2 being like I'm a fucking elite super sniper, extra nearly superhero level kind of badass Olympic sniper shooter kind of.
+2 on a D10, that's what, 20% better?
And well, what's a +2 is like fucking, that's why I'm saying the numbers should be like so small on that scale.
And mind you, that's there should be other factors because there's a difference between using iron sights and a scope that gives you a plus.
I would
If you go
abstract
there,
that kind of stuff.
yeah.
I
If you
would
go there, you would
abstract
get
that
into you get into the bean counting quite a bit.
yeah.
Then
Which
you
is
would
not it's
probably
not wrong in
you would have to
itself.
be correct in thinking that maybe that number should be a little higher.
With then you want to switch over to like a full percentage die because
No, not necessarily. Like, but I'm just saying,
three
like,
might make the difference.
but I'm also talking about the can do, competent, expert.
so you
That's
wouldn't
why.
never have like a negative.
Well, in the case of that, not being able to, like, not knowing how to use like long range weapons would be your negative.
But
Like
I think
if
not
you're
even
just
there. Like,
competent at shooting normally,
okay,
shooting someone like 30
it's
yards away or whatever.
it's a bit pointless talking about that if you don't know how to roll the dice yet, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to go like skill based and have like broad skill, right? So you have okay, well, now we can assume there's gonna be some bonus. So you want to go with a D10.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you need to succeed? Is it you roll a D10? And then you add your skill, or does the skill change the difficulty level, the target number?
No, I think
Is
the difficulty is going to come with what you're trying to do. Certain
Okay.
things are difficult.
So
Always.
we could do we have. I think we're doing 3 or 4 stats, something like that.
Mhm.
So what does this thing you're trying to do fall into under that stat, and then roll over whatever your stat is.
Roll over your stat.
That doesn't
Yeah,
make
so if
sense
you-
because the higher your stat is, the harder it becomes to do.
Yeah.
Or roll under your stat.
Yeah,
Whatever.
which-
You were originally gonna do like a 1 is best, and that's
Yeah,
why.
but we talked. That's not going
Yeah,
to work because people are retarded.
Well, big number better.
Big number better, right? So
yeah.
you roll
Except
under
on
your
the
stat,
dice.
or there's a
Yeah.
like Traveler has various difficulty levels. Like let's say normal would be 5, difficult might be 7, impossible might be 9.
Yeah.
But are you doing the difficulty level, or are you doing the roll under your stat? Or you can do both, I guess. You have to roll under your stat, but higher than the difficulty level. So if your difficulty level is 4 and your stat is 7, well, then you have to roll between a 4 and a 7.
Nah, I think it's just roll under your number. Because, like, once again, we're going for a fairly pick up and play kind of game.
Yeah. So
And like
that's a
you'd
fair.
literally
That's a
have
fair
to
way to go.
explain that. You'd literally have to explain that mechanic to somebody who's not played it before.
Yeah, you could do that, like just roll under your stat, but then that mean that the difficulty level either modify the stat or modify the dice.
Mhm.
If you want to have difficulty level, which I think you should, because not everything is the same difficulty to do, right?
Right,
Yes.
and that way you could add either a stat bonus or a skill bonus, or both.
Yeah.
And that way you're rolling.
Yeah,
you try to
I don't
roll-
like stacking bonuses, to be honest.
Stacking bonuses, yeah.
Yeah, stacking bonuses is to what 5th edition.
Well, actually, 5th edition is not doing that.
Is it? I thought they were doing that.
No, they especially make the advantage and the disadvantage mechanic to get rid of all the stacking bonuses.
Okay, then that was 4th edition. I'm thinking
And
of.
third edition was extremely stacking bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all about like, oh, I get a +2 here and a +1 here and a +5 here, so I got +8. So right, that's what it was. But
Yeah. I'll put that back up there. Yeah. I don't know. We're still months away from actually resolving that. But yeah, that once Shadow's back from taking his whiz,
I need to do that as well.
yeah. You can put an intermission on. We'll be
Yeah,
back.
I'm gonna play some cartoon.
Just put this show is safety
Yeah.
warning.
All right, I'm not gonna do that for real. I forgot that it was
I
so
had to
much
find my
black.
charger.
What?
My battery's almost dead.
Oh, yeah, man. What's the thing with that battery only less than 2 hours, man?
So when you stream and stuff like that, it takes a lot.
You
Yeah,
should
it
get one of
does.
those. You should get one of those separate batteries that you just plug into a USB port.
Yeah, well,
Battery
part
bank.
of the problem is normally upstairs in my studio, I would just have the plug plugged into here while I was streaming.
Yeah.
But something happened with the one and only available outlet, and so it doesn't work upstairs. Yeah, I know. I basically what happened was
Is it got the way your smoke detector has?
no. Something happened where someone, like, the cord was on the floor, partially on the floor, and someone like yanked it out of the plug, and from that point on, that plug just doesn't seem to work.
Are those real flour?
No. Everybody asked.
Yeah. Well, because they would be pretty nice if they were real.
Nope, they're plastic. They need to be dusted too. But
Yeah. So, if you want to go like, okay, roll under, add some stack bonus to the skill. What is your skill made of? What is the number? Is it your attribute plus the relevant skill? Like, oh, you're trying to shoot somebody, that's gonna be, or you try to punch
my
somebody,
question.
it's gonna be your strength plus your punching skill.
Well, I'm a big fan of like, if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. Then it's just your ability in that number, right? Like,
What does that mean? What that doesn't mean
okay,
nothing.
so you know how to fist fight.
I know what fist.
Well, you know how to do this and do that. Um, plus your well, not plus, just like, okay, so that's a thing you do with strength. So you just roll your strength instead of like adding. Oh, unless you got like a like we said with sniper, you'd have like a physical combat.
But like, would you? So you wouldn't have like a thing like a brawler, or you know how to do
Well,
it.
that would be
Everybody
like,
would have to
okay, I
know
took
it.
boxing,
Yeah.
right? I took boxing. That would be or I took karate, or
So
like
that would be like
whatever your
oh, you got
fucking
this plus one
martial.
plus two plus
Yeah,
you can do it plus one plus two, right?
yeah. That would be like one of the things, and obviously that would be one of the freebies you would get with playing a cop, because they have to like there's a package of stuff you get for free.
Yeah.
With
Well,
that,
everybody would be at least like at can do it, right?
yeah. Well, like on a bunch of stuff, there would be like a bunch of can do, like can shoot a gun does not
Yeah.
make you an
Drive a
expert
car,
marksman.
first aid,
Yeah.
interpersonal diffusing of situations. There's literally, like, if you look at police academy training, there's between 13 and 19 different things you have to pass.
Yeah, and we would distill that down into like basics.
Right, where they can, if you can group them together, yeah. But
Yeah.
sometimes they're very different. Driving a car is very different from first aid.
So now, like, I'm a rookie cop. I didn't do any like boxing or karate.
Well,
And
you see, it's
Still-
because
you're still
you
gonna
have
take-
to you have to take martial you have to take a martial skill in basic training.
but
Yeah.
wouldn't that just
In
give me like the can do thing, like the basic
Yeah,
one?
yeah. It just give you like nothing is giving you
Plus zero.
on
Actually, I don't know. I
Yeah.
want to look into that, because I almost think it's not quite
But
martial
you
art.
still no.
but-
You get like you get a physical training in police academy. It's
Mhm.
just not like, because you get
I
like
have to watch those
beta
movies
fights.
now.
What?
Man.
The police academy movies.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have a module for playing. We're gonna find the rights to Police Academy on Fiverr or whatever.
Those are classic. The ride's gonna be expensive.
They're classic and shitty, so the rights will be easy to obtain.
But so yeah, okay. Let's say like, okay, I'm just a rookie, so I did my basic training, but I don't have anything to give me like a bonus.
But you could
You
always
might, if your stat was the appropriate stat. I can
We're not
see
talking
maybe-
about what might. I'm making a scenario here to ask a question.
okay, yes, okay.
So let's say you've
And I
got
have like,
Let him do a scenario, then you do yours, Shadow.
and I have like a physical of 6. So now I roll. Is it equal or under, or is it just under?
Equal or under? I'm okay with equal or under. You, Shadow?
if we don't go for if we don't decide to go with a target difficulty, then definitely on equal or under, because you have
So
the
if I roll
number.
like,
Then
so if I
Six-
roll like equal or
if you have
under
a
of
six,
6,
if you have a 6, then rolling the 6 and less should be the target number, let's say, because you
Yeah.
have the 6. So
Yes. So 6 is on your sheet. You can roll a 6 or less.
so then okay, so then no, and then like I decide to go take the karate class, and I get my yellow belt, and now I have a +1 on my rolls. So now like I'm much better. I'm 10% better. Now I can succeed in a 7 or less,
Yes.
and I can train a little more and go get my black belt, and now I can succeed on an 8 or less. Is
Mhm.
that a big enough difference to
Out of
say, like,
10? like out of
Out of
10,
10.
I think that's like
That's pretty damn good, I would say.
that's pretty good. Like there's only
think
two
so?
I
numbers
mean,
on
if you think about it like this, on the opposite
No,
side.
I'm saying 8 is good,
yeah.
but
Well,
like
look
I
at
took those 2 specialty, and now like I'm 20% better at what I do.
yeah, but look at it this way. Okay, so you've played whatever our level up mechanic is. So say 5 successful missions, you get to roll another d10 to add points to places, minus training courses or whatever, right? And then you put 2 more points into your physical skill. That's
but
like
what
you don't roll for it anymore. You're just
but
gonna win.
look
win that
look
fight.
at this way, right? Somebody like 2 equal person in strength, right? We both have a 6 in strength, but I took as much training as I can.
Yeah.
I'm 20% better than you at fighting.
So yeah, but it's a game. You have to have abstractions.
No, I'm just like
Yeah.
I think it's slow, but if you're okay with that, it's not inherently wrong. I think it's slow because it's then your skill doesn't count for that much, but then it's not necessarily wrong. It's just something to consider.
Well, you could be a master fighter and a total novice could walk up to you and kick you in the nuts and you're not expecting it. Like that's the thing. The old sword fighting thing is the person a master fears the most is an absolute novice because he has no idea what he's doing.
Well, the thing is like the master is still gonna kill the novice.
Well,
but
if the
they
novice
gotta
doesn't
kill
get
each
in,
other.
yeah.
No, I agree with you, Max. The math, I have some friends who do some incredible spreadsheet and algorithm math where they.
This game is not for them.
Yeah.
This game is to like tell those guys to stop being a spurg.
Well, it revolves around play testing, so they want these numbers to make sense, and
no, it's also like just being them like satisfying. I'll let you talk about it. I need to go take a piss. So talk amongst yourself, and be entertaining.
The other thing is I was going to tell him with the cops.
I still hear you, by the way.
Okay, with who the cops are dealing with, very rarely is it going to be where they're going to actually come across like a black belt, or you know what I mean. Normally, the NPCs, maybe if it's like a bad guy of the special episode or something like that, the super villain, if you will. Normally, they're going to be dealing with people that are almost always going to have numbers on the average less than them, unless they've got like a really high number in this one thing because they're a doctor or a lawyer, and they got all their points pumped into this one specialty. Whereas if you look at it, the cops are kind of like a jack of all trade, versus all the NPCs are going to be kind of specialists or novices at everything. That's why they're criminals.
Yeah.
Because they didn't succeed in that one thing where they could have just had a job, or they're doing this one thing because they think they can take advantage of the system and do a crime and actually profit from it, as opposed to getting caught, which crime doesn't pay.
It's paying more and more these days, I think. But at the same time, like Max,
you see my point though?
Yes, I get your point. Like people are taking the if you actually do the math, you're doing more work than you are for a job at McDonald's kind of thing.
Well, no, not just that, but the NPCs, they may be colorful, but the cop players aren't going to know what their numbers are. But on the average, they should be able to guess that they're probably low. You know what I mean?
They're probably zeros, right? Like stat wise, they're probably like
4s
or 2s. Where I'm thinking, like Max used the number 6 for an average player, where I think, like,
I use the number 6 for a meme reason. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
No, it wasn't for an average player. It was just for something
for a rookie coming out of the academy, where I think that number should actually be driven down.
Yeah, I agree.
It should be like somewhere around a 3.
You think so?
Okay.
I was thinking more like a 5.
So basically, you fail most of the time at what you're trying to do.
Well, you're an absolute novice when you pull that sheet out. Also, it's also like if you like if you roll like a 1 on that d10, you're probably not going to put it into like sniper or something. You're going to put it into strength or intelligence.
Mhm.
But like you got to think about it. Say you roll a 10 on that d10 and you pick up
Super
a
cut.
half dozen or you pull up you pull a half dozen special skills and then you put the other 4 in your stats. Well, that raises them up like a pretty large percentage on the d10, like you said, 20%, right?
Mhm.
And then you've got another 20% on whatever your skills are.
That's almost even to make it a.
So like say you take boxing, which is like a martial skill.
Why would I ever take boxing
I'm just
if I can
like,
just raise my strength by 1?
well, say okay, so you've raised your strength by 1 and you've taken boxing. That's 40% right there.
Why can I not raise my
That's
strength by 2
you can choose to raise your strength by
instead
2.
of taking boxing? I'm gonna raise my strength to 10 before I ever take boxing.
You could have it a tiebreaker.
Well,
Like, so if you have
Max, I think what Max is saying is if you do add the bonuses from the two things, then it makes a difference. Otherwise, you would, like in GURPS, it's better to just keep pumping your points into your stats because it allows you. It's like increasing your skill level in all physical stat or physical
But
skill.
because I don't know if you get what I mean. Like if like
Yeah.
taking boxing, taking boxing is gonna give you +1 when you do a boxing thing. But if I increase my strength and boxing depends on strength, then I'm gonna get the
Yeah,
+1 anyway, right?
you're gonna get the +1 in not just
So I
like
will
melee
never take a
combat,
skill.
but you're also gonna get it
Lifting
in
weights
running
Yeah.
and
changing tires.
yeah.
What's up, Raven?
But put it to you this way. Okay, so we got 2 5-stat strength characters fighting,
Yeah.
right? Your one with boxing now gets the advantage. He wins the tie.
No, but that doesn't change anything, because at some point I had this 1 point to spend, and I had to make the choice between spending it on boxing or spending on strength. That's not a choice. Obviously, you spend it on strength because now you
Yes.
don't have like a.
If you're a min-maxer. But what happens when your stat is full, right? Like so you got
Well,
like
so
a
that's what I'm saying.
maximum.
I would raise my stat to 10 before I would spend any point on boxing.
Yeah.
So there
Well,
need to be like, if you want to have an option that is like that much inferior, there need to be a trade-off.
mhm.
Like if taking boxing would give me +2,
Okay.
then maybe like, oh, that's gonna be +2 in a specific situation or +1 in the general situation. Like like going more broad. Even then, like I think like strength is much better still, but
Yeah, because you can use it for so many other things.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Breaking down doors.
so say
Finding,
the maximum stat you can put on a character is 8.
Well, then I would raise my strength to 8 before taking any boxing.
Yes.
or what
The
you
thing,
can.
the other thing you can do is like make it like increasing the stat cost more, right? Maybe it
That's
costs
what I was
more the
getting at.
higher it is, right? Oh, you have to spend the equivalent of the stat, right? Whatever. So
The number you're putting
Yeah.
on it, or say it's even if it's 2 points per stat and 1 point per
yeah,
Skill.
but
per
I know
ability.
that, but also like that could make a curve, right? Oh, you want to raise your strength to 6, you need to spend 6 points. So then sometimes it's not an option because you didn't roll high enough, right? Or whatever.
Or earn enough.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
Well,
Just like
I'm
simple.
thinking we should just like every time you do a certain number of cases successfully, you get to roll the die again or whatever.
Maybe.
And that's up to, well, it's an optional rule, right? Like,
Or every time you get to roll the dice, you can spend the point now. You can save them.
yeah.
And, that could be a. So if
Raven,
you roll like, yeah. But
just saying.
those are the thing. Those are the thing you need to think about, right? Those are the kind of like you still, if you want to do game design, even if you want your game not to be too mathy, game design does imply a lot of math.
Yes, you want no math on the end, not in
Yeah.
the back end.
Yeah. And you also have to consider that the player will do the math, right? Even if you say, oh, that's not for the, if you just want to be in max and stuff like that. Well, when it's that obvious, the math is like, it's not like, oh, what, how can I, well, you just look at the two options and say, well, one is obviously better. It's not even an option at that point.
Yeah, it's the
You just
exact
make
same thing.
choice again.
Like I said with GURPS, it's
Yeah, well, I was spitballing that. Like,
Yeah, I know,
you
I
gotta think
understand, but like,
but
that's a question I want to ask you now. Like, just like a
yeah,
thing to consider, right? Next
Mhm.
thing, okay, if you go with this idea that you roll under your skill. Now, if I try to pick up a tire from the ground, or if I try to pick up a dumpster from the ground,
one of those is possible, and the other one is not. You can lift. Like, I'm assuming you mean the kind that dump trucks pick up, or garbage trucks pick
yeah,
up.
like, it's just like an
Yeah,
extreme example. But you get what I mean. Like,
like
I tried to pick
you
up
could
like
probably lift up. You probably lift up one end like 2-3 inches, but you're then putting it directly down again because I don't
You
know if
don't-
you've ever lifted one of those motherfucking things.
I do
They're
that all
heavy
the
and
time. It's like a part of my hobbies.
I wouldn't put it past you. You're trying to learn how to lift a full trash dumpster
No,
and
and
play the
it's like
tuba at the same
it's
time.
like when you do like the when you do like those
You're
pranks,
trying
lift
what's
the trash container on the side, right? And then you leave it like that, and that it's funny because like people say, "Oh, what? How did that happen?" Right? It's like a prank. Like when you lean down the, well, now we don't have mailbox anymore, but when you used to have mailbox, you lean down on the front, right? And they're somewhat heavy so that the regular postman cannot move them. But they're pranks that you do, I guess.
uh you're trying to recreate the Highland Games but for an urban environment.
Yeah. But okay, right. I tried to kick down a wooden door from an interior or an exterior door, like just like
Yeah.
that are more thicker and stuff like that. Do I just roll under my strength for both of those, or is there like a modification there that happened to the roll somehow?
Yeah, because one's got the jam and the other. I would abstract it to be the same either way. Honestly, I know it's a lot harder to kick a door in against its jam than in opposition to the jam, but
But like that's an
still,
example. Like it's not about a specific example. It's about like something or easy to do, something or harder to do. How do you want to deal
Mhm.
with that? I think that probably needs to be accounted for.
Yeah, there needs to be like the game master says
a
this is
difficulty
within
modifier.
your
And whether it's a plus or a negative, depending on the system, and whether it's a plus or minus to your die roll, which I think it should be a minus or plus to the die roll, depending on which system you use.
See,
And that could be as simple as 1, 2, or 3, or much greater.
I originally proposed having that number the bar number static and having uh positive and negative numbers on 0, but Shadow didn't understand what I was talking about.
What do you mean the bar number?
So if the basic character, like an average, normal, well fit starting character, is a 0 down the
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
what?
No,
Yeah.
I understood it. I just
Yeah.
think that it.
It's just like if you're in D&D and you just like take out the stat number and just do with the modifier, right?
Yeah, and then you have like negative modifiers for the less competent you are at a thing,
Yep.
and plus for, and then like an average opponent, an average obstacle, an average thing is like a 6 on the D10, and then the game master could say, okay, this is 2 under or 2 over on the number plus whatever your modifier is.
6 that you need to reach. So that's like a.
So you'd have like a plus
like-
3 character would be
but
like the maximum you'd ever have. Or
I don't know what you
negative
talk
3.
about average character, because that doesn't mean anything in
Average
that sense.
person.
No, but like that doesn't, like, let's say you're a character with a 6 of strength, right? And then you say, oh,
So-
that's 200. And now is that my, like, I'm rolling like my strength is 4?
Like so say an average character would be, you pull that sheet out of the paper, you have no modifiers to it whatsoever.
Why
It's
are
just
you
that
talking about average character?
because that's like the baseline. The baseline would be 0, 0, 0, 0 down the stats. No negatives, no positives.
The baseline for what?
For whatever your stats are, all of them. So
So
say,
now,
say
so now the
strength.
average character got a 0.
So say you have a 0 strength. You're not a cripple. You're not
Yeah,
stupid.
okay.
You're not
I got a
out
0
of shape.
strength. Okay.
You're not like super strong or anything. Like, you got a 0. And then you roll your d10 and you get a 6. You succeed. You get a 7. You succeed. Anything above that, you
Okay.
succeed.
So now,
Anything below that, you fail.
we're not doing the roll under stat anymore.
Yeah, this is what I originally proposed to Shadow, but
Okay.
he didn't want to do
I
that.
was confused about that. Sorry. That's
Dude,
why
yeah.
I was getting upset.
Okay, I thought I mentioned
He was
that earlier.
basically explaining how
I might have.
Morkborg works,
Yeah.
and trying to borrow some of the ideas from that.
Which I like, because it's like, if the game master doesn't give you a number, it's always the same fucking thing, right? Like, so if Shadow's running the game and we're playing and he doesn't say this is an obstacle +1, that means you need to get a 6 with a 0 stat.
So now, like, your character would be average, or a character would be like slightly above average. You have a +1.
So a +1, yeah,
And the difficulty you're trying to do
would be a
is
5 or better.
easy. So it's an obstacle -1.
Yeah, so if it's a -1 obstacle and you have a +1 in your stat, that means you need to get a 4 or better on your roll.
Yeah, because the default is 6. But now you have this thing that you have a +1 and a -1, but they're both like, oh, one adds to the dice, once you reduce the difficulty. I think it's better if you
Well-
make all the addition on the same side, I guess. Wouldn't be?
I don't think this level of addition would be too hard, especially if it's like
No, but I mean-
rarely ever done. Like, you rarely ever throw out a modify number.
But I mean, you could just say, oh, that's easy, so you can add another +1, right?
Yeah,
And then,
so
I have a
like-
+1, so I add +2 to my dice, and I have to roll a 6.
Yeah.
And then, like, you always roll a 6, but now I have a +2, +1 from my stat, +1 from the because it's easy.
Yes.
Yeah, that could work. But if you want to do the roll under thing, the roll under skill, right, or
Mhm.
attribute, roll under attribute, then you have to decide. That's something you have to decide as well. Like, do you want to subtract to the dice, or add to dice, I guess, or subtract to the? No, wait. Roll under, add to the skill, or subtract to the dice. No, it's both. Add to this. You need to roll under your skill, so you need to, something that'd be difficult would either subtract your skill or add to the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also the range of growth with that kind of system is a much smaller, right?
I'm not asking you for a definite, like, I'm telling you thing you need to define. That's the list we have. Like, we decided, okay, you need a character, you have to do those things, you need to consider like how the character can distinguish itself from one another.
Yeah.
You need to have a dice resolution. Then you need to consider like how you account for different difficulty of the thing in the world, right? That's something to think about. That's something you need, I believe. Like, it's not you could have a functional system without it, but I think it's like almost a must have, right? It's like it's not even a nice to have. It's not like, if you can have it, right? Just like, so that's the next thing. Like, you need dice mechanic. Rolling under your stat, that's fine. That works. Other game do that.
Yeah.
Then you need to account like when you get better, and you need to account when things get harder or things get easier,
Mm-hmm.
and those things not get into conflict and push in different direction. That gets confusing. That's
Yes.
something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you need to consider, if we're doing fuck, what's it? I'm looking in the um, uh,
The
You should have
result,
had a notepad.
results of failure.
what are we doing? Like, let's say arm wrestling, right? Just to make an example.
Yeah.
How do we resolve that?
Strength. Like that would be a strength, but is that a roll off or a sequence of rolls, or like what do you mean by resolve? That would be like the same as how you would
I
resolve.
think something like that is always going to be a contested.
Yeah,
it.
contested role, but how do you do those contested role, right? That's like, do you do like Justin got a strength of 4 and I got a strength of 6, right? And then we both like, do I just win, or do we both roll? And if I fail my roll and he wins, is he win? What if you both roll under a skill? What if you both roll over a skill?
Yeah, that's kind of iffy because if you think about it logically, the 6 should always win every time.
You could have that second win moment. I guess you could do like a critical, or like
You
if
could, but
if I get like twice what, so it's a 4. If I get like twice what your thing is. Okay, so you have a strength of 6 and I got a strength of 4, but like I've won a couple of arm wrestling championships. That gives me a like a plus or whatever, right? Like, that kind of
Now you're
thing.
introducing something else, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this
this
that
is an actual
background thing.
skill. A
yeah,
skill versus unskilled.
yeah.
Now could a skilled person with a lower strength win? Someone who's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's absolutely skill in that, but
Yeah.
and don't get bogged down in this specific example. That's like, it's about contested role. How do you
Yeah.
resolve a contested role? It could be a different thing, right?
Yeah. It
you,
could be hot
you would
dog
have
eating
to
or whatever,
have
right?
to-
Like,
you'd have to add or subtract, whatever modifier from the stat and the skill, and then a roll.
yeah.
I think adding two things, two
Yeah,
possibilities to a roll
but it
is
cannot
not
just
a.
be like a. But then, is it like the one that rolled the lowest?
Loses? Yeah.
Well, it depends
No,
on.
losers.
do
Depends
Well, it's a roll on their skill, right? It's a roll on their system. So is it like rolling lower better?
if that's the way the mechanic works, then yeah. Let's
Yeah,
just
if
assume
we end up going that way.
You could go like Pendragon, that do like, it's a roll under but as high as you can, and the one that rolled the highest but under, but then maybe that's too complicated for the public
that's a
you're
little
aiming
more
for.
than.
You end up having like, I gotta think this way and that way at the same time.
Yeah, I
Um,
like the idea of just always going with the addition as opposed to the subtraction.
Yeah,
As the more I think
I
about it,
think that's a good. I think
you
that's
know,
a good idea.
mhm.
But
you add the bonus
well,
from this A or B or both, and then the higher roll.
always the subtraction and addition, but you also, more important than that, you always want to make the addition and subtraction, the modification, to either dice roll or either the skill.
all
the
I'm
target, right?
saying, all I'm saying,
Don't modify the dice roll and the skill, the target number, basically.
Yeah, you
all
just want to go all negative or all positive.
Well, but I
yeah.
mean, like, if I got like a bonus due to my skill, but I could have like a negative due to the situation being difficult, right?
I just want to make this one side point. All I'm saying is I want there to be a chart for injuries you have to roll on for failing to jump over a fence.
One of these days, I'll tell you a funny story about that. But yeah, especially if it's one of those chain link fences with the X's at the top.
Yeah.
No,
Those
a
are
white picket fence. You got a full white picket up the crotch joint. It's like he wants to laugh so hard right now.
No, me never.
He muted himself. Shut up. He's like, this is Vlad the Impaler levels of suburbia.
But so anyway, that's something to consider, right? You need to have like a way, because also if you just do like, well, the one that rolled the lowest win, then that kind of make the skill irrelevant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On
We definitely have to look into that, right? Like skills work better in systems with different die roll mechanics. I think I don't know what die system does Traveler use, or Traveler has skills, right? So
2d6. You
yeah,
add. You've got a target number. You add your stat bonus, skill bonus. Try to beat the target number.
yeah.
And I think there's 3 or 4 target numbers of difficulty.
Oh no,
and,
there's like fucking 8. There's like an
really?
insane amount. Oh yeah. Well, in
Really?
Mongoose at least, yeah, like yeah,
I could've swore it was like
default,
4.
the default is like 8, and then you have like it goes by every slice of 2, right?
I definitely like the idea of not having 8 different target numbers.
Yeah, 3. I think 3 is tops.
Yeah, like easy, normal, hard. Makes sense
I
to
thought
me.
I had my traveler book right next to me here, but I don't.
Normally I do too upstairs. I could have swore it was only like 3 or 4.
Well, maybe, like you're talking classic. I'm talking Mongoose. I'm only
Well, I'm
on
talking
Dialectic.
second edition.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
It could just be my memory. I haven't played it in a while.
we should play that sometime after Men and Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
You get your priorities straight.
Yeah, I have one Evil Hat game. I don't want to add to the bonfire that I will be starting.
No,
First-
no. We'll walk onto the pier and ask a pirate for
Yeah.
a copy.
But so what else you need to figure out? Okay. If I punch somebody in the face, do I just roll under my strength with my punching bonus? Or is that resolved with a opposed roll? Or is it sometime opposed roll? The guy tried to defend himself, or like in a fight.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But if I just like sucker
if he
punch
doesn't-
him, or if he's like,
if somebody doesn't know the punch is coming, then it's just a skill roll, right?
Yeah.
But if it's otherwise, it could very well be a contested roll, and the contested roll could resolve the entire conflict.
Yeah, you roll at the same time, and whoever gets highest actually gets the punch through.
No, I was thinking it's just the fight's over.
Yeah, well, if you get a critical, you knock some fucker out, right?
no, I mean like the one dice roll, like resolve, like instead of having like, round after round, like
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
now
as
we're
well.
fighting, we're punching each other. We make one dice roll and figure out who wins.
Okay, yeah,
Especially when you consider
I'm down with
the
that.
average conflict in this type of situation is going to be just the cop is just trying to get the cuffs on.
Okay, is it do you have to state a goal then?
Yeah, the goal is to apprehend.
Yeah, it's not
How
like a
about damage?
gunfight would be different. I think
Gunfight would be like round after round then.
Yeah,
could be.
Well, I'm of the I'm pro giving each type of element a fixed damage point per
impact,
right? With the
What's
minimum
impact?
being your fist and the maximum being like, I don't know, a fucking chainsaw.
bazooka. You hit him with a
Chainsaw,
bazooka.
chainsaw are an awful weapon.
Have you ever cut meat up with a chainsaw?
I can
No, I
neither
never.
confirm nor deny.
Yeah. Well,
Have you?
yes.
But
It
chainsaw
does-
gets knocked down by clothing.
It can, but it does cut through fucking flesh pretty quickly.
Pretty quick, yeah, well, pretty quickly. But it's not like you don't hit with it. You have to keep it on the target, right? Something
Yeah.
that moves and that tries to defend himself. It's not ideal. Like you're gonna make a lot of
Yeah.
scratching, and it's gonna hurt. But Good luck chopping
Yeah.
off an arm in a fight with a chainsaw.
You tear out chunks.
And also, like even the flesh, if it's it can bog down the chainsaw as well. If it's the meat is frozen, that's gonna be like that work's gonna work better, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's not matter. Like that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You could have said shotgun or whatever, like or
Yeah, I picked an absurd thing, but
a grenade.
Still. Yeah, like okay, grenade. It's doing 12 points of damage, and you have a maximum of 10. So,
but then you can have
plus
a
maybe like
jacket.
body armor or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
That's another thing you have to consider. Like, how does damage work? Like, can I do like a better punch that's gonna grow? Like, is it just like, oh, do you have like critical? Do you have some fumble and stuff like that? Do you have like, is there a way that my punch gonna do 1, but like this one's gonna do 2?
Yeah, or like if you're wearing a riot helmet and you get punched in the visor, okay, maybe that's a little annoying, but it's not hurting you. Like you're probably not getting a broken nose.
What if we want to resolve with the old brawl, right? With just one roll? Is the guy that won get no damage and the other one get 1 point of damage? Do you do something with like the how much better did I roll than you? Do you do like degree of success? Do you want to have degree of success somehow?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I punch you and you don't get knocked out, but you're like, okay, that's the fight because it's obviously we're resolving the whole fight in one roll, like you said, and I'm super down with that. And Shadow seems to be up with that too. No,
Well, it's Shadow that said it.
Was it
was
Shadow that said
Shadow's
it?
idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not the same.
I don't know. You've been talking a lot, Max. It's just like fuck.
It's not the,
like it's your
in
show
this
or something.
context. In this context, it's not a drawn out sword fight, or you're not in the ring or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
you're trying to accomplish a very specific thing, usually
Yeah.
in a let's call it a melee.
Then that goes to like police brutality. Okay, so say the cop won and he's got you down on his first roll. Does he pull out his billy club and just start wailing on you because he's fucking pissed he had to chase you over three backyards or whatever?
I think that would be a role-playing situation.
That would be a role-playing situation, and your opponent could take more damage from that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you might get called up on the
disciplinary action.
Police brutality.
So you wouldn't have that there would be like no role for that because the guy like, oh, you put the guy on the ground already and now like you're just beating him up with your club.
And if it's vice versa, you get on the ground and the DM decides to wail on you. It's like that scene from RoboCop.
I don't know.
You ever watched RoboCop?
Maybe when I was a lad.
Go watch RoboCop when the stream's over,
like,
bro.
Fucking 30 years ago, right? Some shit like that.
Yeah, you need to rewatch RoboCop.
I don't know. I don't know if I need to. I watched the new one. It's
No,
good enough.
don't. No. No.
So what do you do if you're the one that lost the role and now you're on the GM say, well, now he's starting to wail on you, kick you in the face?
Yeah, well, hopefully your buddy comes by and breaks up, like shoots the fucker.
Otherwise, you just die.
Yeah, well, you could.
Yeah,
you could.
That would also.
Is there a roll you can make to try to? Well, I tried to block him and get back on my feet.
Maybe if you're like halfway through your life, you can roll to like, because if we do you're only unconscious if your hit points are down to 0 and you're dead below that, you're technically still conscious and thus able to counteract anything done after that.
It could be just like you need to make beat a difficult target die roll to somehow get back on your feet. that doesn't mean you're going to
The
succeed.
agility roll, right? Whatever our agility is, that would be your get back up.
And even if you get back up on your feet, that doesn't mean you're not going to go back down.
Yeah.
And if your character dies, that just opens up, potentially a new story arc.
You go to the back of the book, pull that page out again, and roll your D10. That's the point of wanting that system to be that quick, right?
And
I'm
it gives
I'm expecting a lot of dead cops in this show. Okay?
it gives the players, potentially a new crime to solve.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what happened. They don't know. They just find your dead body. And now they've got to, maybe off the books or whatever. They try to, figure out what happened to their buddy.
Well, I doubt it'd be off the books, but
well,
But
they don't.
all I'm
Normally,
saying is
they
like,
don't normally
again,
assign. You would never be assigned to solve your.
it's a
partner's-
police procedural. Of course, you would be.
Well,
yeah.
a lot of times that's literally in the story. It's like you can't do it, so they're doing it behind the scenes, or it's somebody else, doing it, and then it leads to.
You're not allowed to do it, but the other two players that you're playing with, they are.
Well, it depends if they were literally your partner. If you have like a technical partner, your partner's never allowed to do that.
Yeah, but
Because there's bias.
in like Law and Order, it's always the other two they always work with. They get assigned to that job, and then there's that one guest character that shows up and doesn't actually do anything. Oh,
Yeah, but again, like I'm not here like for like a definitive answer or stuff like that. I'm just stating stuff to consider, right?
yeah.
Appreciate it.
What else?
It's not like I haven't been a sounding board for you a lot.
What?
Exactly.
Something more? Yeah. So okay, dice mechanic, oppose roll, damage. Like that's what we're talking about now. Equipment, I guess, like that's not gonna be a big deal, right? You're just gonna be like, yeah.
We were thinking like assigned equipment is most.
Yeah, and
but
then you probably can have access normal cop stuff and
then if you're playing the PI, the abstractions of most basic options are like what you purchase or whatever, but you would have like a free pick me at the beginning of the game of like things you should have before you're even like like
Trench coat, hat, pack of smokes, and a revolver.
a flashlight, a set of picks.
radio to listen to the police frequency.
Yeah, the scanner, the CB scanner or whatever.
I don't assume that the equipment is going to be like a big hurdle there in that type of game, especially with your kind of guys. Like the other thing, character progression. We talked a bit about that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be something to consider. Like I'm not somebody that say, oh, if you're not leveling up, right? Because like and I guess in that case, contact could be a thing too.
Mm-hmm. Contacts would fill the role of equipment more than
equipment
would.
Like, yeah, exactly. Your cop and the department is gonna provide you what you need, right? Just so it's not really about getting gear and getting money, right? You get a regular paycheck. You're not just going crime to fill your pocket.
Even if you are like a PI, you're getting paid enough to afford the basic stuff that you'd be using in that line of work. Even if you were like only doing one job a month, you'd be living hand to mouth, but you'd probably still have that stuff. No, Shadow, you work more independent in that kind of field.
Yeah, depending on who you work for. If you work for a company, they're going to provide the bare minimums. Everything else is on you.
But in those kind of shows, in those kind of shows that were like PI guys that didn't work for companies,
they're on a shoestring budget,
but they still had like the basics.
Yeah, they have what they need to do their job.
Yeah,
and believe it or not,
Like, because that's not like, oh, I need to get that thing if I want to do this. Like, that shouldn't
It's
really
it's
be
not a
your
fetch
plot. Like,
quest. It's not a fetch quest
exactly.
game.
No.
Yeah.
And to be honest, most jobs, all you need are these two things.
Yeah.
Eyeballs,
It's
yeah, maybe a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're playing the PI game, you're probably more likely to want to invest in a camera than a gun, you know.
Mhm.
But then
Or you can have
that's
to
an
have
option.
both, right?
Or a
It's not
tape
like,
recorder, depending on the
Yeah.
situation. But yeah.
yeah, it's probably all thing like that. Those are things like are fairly easily accessible, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's very few pieces of equipment.
Even
you
even
couldn't
in the
just go to.
'60s, you could go into
Yeah.
like a drugstore and buy a Polaroid or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
it's not like you need like a drone, like a predator drone, right? Or some shit like that. If you were like playing
Predator
modern,
drone.
Even
well, you know what I mean?
even
Like, it's something because I said, like, if you were playing modern, you could have a drone, but again, those
In
are
the sci-fi
pretty
supplement,
accessible, right?
like we were talking about having a
But, like, if
section
you're
at
playing
the
in 2020, right? If you play in 2020 or 2024, right? You want to have a drone, you can just fucking get a drone. Like, they're not like that expensive, that hard to get to come around, right?
we were,
Jackie's got a drone with a
Yeah.
camera that's been in the box for like 5 years.
he should
Never-
really use that, man, because he could get some really good B-roll for his videos and shit.
I've been telling him that for years, and he's like,
But no, like we were talking about having like a section at the back for you found a piece of technology that is like, ooh, maybe it's Area 51 or aliens or from the future or something like that, or like a whole mystery based around like what the fuck is this? It'd basically be like what's that?
Magic item.
The Jade Falcon, the Jade Falcon story. That's right?
Maltese Falcon.
The Maltese Falcon. The
Oh, yeah.
Falcon was made out of jade. Was it gold?
I think it was gold and gems, but it was covered with some
Green paint.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Maltese Falcon, right? This is basically what it is. It's a MacGuffin that you're looking for the whole fucking time, or like a
It does
cold.
nothing, no?
What?
It does nothing, no?
The Maltese Falcon, yes, but you know, as far as you're concerned, the drone, like you're using the drone as an example, it's 1983, and you found a fucking drone from 2014.
Yeah.
In a lockbox somewhere like that. That's like people are gonna want that, right?
You find a smartphone, but the battery are dead, right?
Yeah,
But
but
want it, but for you it does nothing. It's just like a black square, right? Oh, just like this thing. Or you
Yeah.
want it.
well, maybe it's got a little bit of power and you can turn it on and see it, but before you actually figure out what anything is, the battery dies.
Yeah.
But
So
everybody's
you
looking
know
for
it's
it.
something
you cannot
valuable.
go past the lock screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know how to just swipe because you've never.
Well, you don't have the pin, right? You need
No,
the pin.
it's not even got a pin. It's just a swipe to open, but you have no idea what the fuck it is, so you don't know to do that.
Yeah. The
Or like you could do like Kochak, Kochak, right? With or X
Night
Files,
Stalker?
right? Or Night Stalker or X Files.
where it's a contemporary setting, but there's like ghosts and goblins and werewolves
Yep.
and vampires.
or aliens, because
Yep.
it could be X Files as well.
yeah. But contact should be a thing, like more than equipment, I think. And
Yeah, I would actually maybe use it as like say you're doing stat modifiers. You get stat modifiers. Well, maybe whatever your modifier is for your like charisma base, that would be the number of contacts you start with, and you role play with the GM to determine who they are. And later, as you go along, you can actually get more by literally just role playing, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
you get X through.
You don't roll for that. You actually have to go out and meet them. And it's like
Yep.
like you say, you just like I walk down the alley and I go into the pool hall and I start talking with some guy, and the DM gives him a name, or you make up a name. You ask for one and make it up on the spot. It doesn't fucking matter where the name comes from, as long as it's recorded. And it's like, hey, I saw that guy at the bar. Let's go see if we can get information out of that guy. And then he becomes a contact, right?
Mhm.
by just like going back to the same person you talked to before.
Maybe you want to have like some kind of tracking for the contact though, for so how much they like you and how well they know you or whatever, right? Just like I don't know, maybe that's something that can be.
Well,
tracked.
you could
Just for
you have a page for your contacts, right?
a contact sheet,
Yeah,
you
have your little contact book.
contact book,
Yeah, and then like say you interact with them, and then you roll on your charisma, and whatever you get on that is whether they like you or not. And then you have to do that like every time you have an interaction with them. At the end of the interaction, though, like, do they think you're being a sly asshole by sweet talking them, and they start hating you, or do they like you more for right? Do you go in rough? Like, and it's even like, okay, so you go in with a partner, and he's like all laid back and cool, so the guy likes you, but then your partner dies and you get a new partner, and you go and talk to that guy, and your partner punches him in the face, so he doesn't like you anymore. Because your new partner is a fucking radical off-handled.
Your new partner is another PC. He's another like
Well, no, it's just like another like, because you have like 2 players, right? So you're always paired or whatever.
I'm saying like the other like the partner is the other player.
Yeah, the partner is the other player, but this time
you just read your contact.
He's a short fuse asshole. So the role player, if you're playing a short fused character, he might just like punch the guy in the face, being a dumbass.
Yeah,
cops do that. I've seen that happen plenty of times where like the guys are cooperating. There's this great video of there's this tweaked out fucking guy, and the one cop's talking to him, and they're just standing there talking nice and polite, and another cop just runs up and tackles him for no fucking reason. And it's like, why did you, like, I was talking with that guy, why the fuck did you tackle him? Like, you ran 30 feet and tackled this guy for no fucking reason.
Well, no, there was also like what is the fucking name of this black woman that got shot in the face because she had a pot of boiling water.
I was just gonna mention,
but she actually tried to throw something at the guy. That's a different situation. The one I'm talking about.
Have you seen the video that have been released?
Yeah, it didn't look like that at all to me.
They released the video from the body cam lately, and it's like, and usually I'm not. I'm sure they just shot it for no reason, and then you see the video from the body cam and say, okay, that was fucking.
I haven't seen the video, but yeah.
Oh man, it's rough.
The original story was she was going to throw boiling water on the cop. So
yeah, but when you look at the video, like, no. She wasn't.
Okay.
Not only that, she was kind of like special ed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was the case with the one video I saw. Like, but like the cops were talking peacefully. Like the guy was talking with the cop peacefully about whatever, and then just this other one just comes out of nowhere, doesn't ask anything, just tackles the guy.
Yeah,
it was like
it's cops, right?
Yeah.
But
what you gonna do?
Exactly.
When they cover you.
So what else would you need? Like, I think we cover quite a lot of stuff now, right? And I think if you can get those things, you could have like a good basis for a system. But yeah, you need to have like the tone. And you need to think about like also like, then they would need stuff like like you mentioned like table to get seed for the crime that you're trying to be solved and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that'd be useful. Some notion about like what it inquire to what would it imply to play a cop's procedural, solving mystery and role playing and stuff like that. I think that's something you need to consider.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna have to do some research on, not just like a bunch of the shows I've never watched, as well as.
I think I need to do more research than just rewatching Rockford Files.
Yeah.
What? Which one?
The Rockford Files.
Never heard of it.
Don't worry about it. It's an old one.
It's really old, really dry, and
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, I remember watching it and wondering, like, why is this a thing? You know, it was so dry, and you know, the actor was nobody, didn't seem like anybody special, and just like why is this?
What was
a
the what was the cup show with the Monty going in the state for some reason?
The
I
what?
think there's a Monty.
Mountie?
Mountie?
Oh, Due South.
Monty. Due South, yeah.
Due South was a good one.
Yeah, I maybe saw on some episode of that. Was that
The
a cup
Rocky
procedural?
Yeah. It was a procedural, but it was kind of fun.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know what I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about I'm trying to think of some cup show that I've seen. I didn't see much.
That was a good one. What was it? Chicago, I think. Philadelphia, I think it was Chicago. He went there searching for the killer of his father or something like that, and then he got attached to the embassy, and it was
really?
like. It was just an excuse to have a guy in a Mountie outfit. You know,
Yeah. What about Hawaii 5-0?
Hawaii 5-0 would definitely be like one of the things.
Yeah.
Miami Vice.
Miami Vice.
I never saw that.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah,
That's one of the most popular of all times, and you know you couldn't get more 80s than that. But there's a lot of them out there.
Oh, Mike Hammer. I fucking love
Drag-
Mike Hammer. You ever watch Mike Hammer? Mike Hammer's a great one.
Did you ever watch Adam 12?
My brother used to watch Adam 12. I liked Mike Hammer. Do you know Mike Hammer, Max?
Nope.
No. Okay, so half the premise of the show is that every woman that he comes across has got at least a D cup.
Well, wasn't
All right.
that written by like a famous detective novelist, like really famous?
I have no
Mickey
idea,
Swain,
man.
maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. I know that it was the same actor for like the entire.
Stacey Keach.
Yeah. Macy Keaton. Yeah.
Stacey Keach.
Stacy. What?
Keach. Stacey Keach.
Stacy Keach. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
freaking
fucking
hair
know.
lip and everything.
I don't care what this guy's fucking name is, man. They tried remaking it in the late '90s with one of the guys from like Beverly Hills 90210, and it fucking sucked. Yeah, too much of a pretty boy.
So I think we went around pretty much now, right? Just like we.
Yeah,
Was that useful at all?
I think so. I think we worked out a lot of like really core mechanical things. Definitely got more of a firm list on the checklist of stuff we need.
Well, I'm glad if it helps somehow.
Man,
But anyway, it's always fun to hang out anyway.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me you didn't have a lot of intellectual fun. You enjoy talking about this kind of stuff, Max.
Yeah, even if it's not, you know, like a genre that you're familiar or enjoy.
No, it's not a genre that I'm familiar with, but I think that could be like a good product. It could be like a nice niche for this kind of for this kind of game, right? I think
You know, it's funny that there really isn't much out there except in the way of video games. There's a couple products, but they're really more of like supplements to other things as opposed to the full-fledged. And if you were to like do a little bit of research on the number of TV shows and movies and not even look at books, right? You would be freaking floored how many multiples it has over all the other genres. It's like literally the biggest genre that's so completely overlooked.
I'm pretty sure NCIS is half the programming on daytime, like weekly television today.
No, but I mean, like if you were to take up all of the, let's say, fantasy movies, you got a list of all the fantasy movies, the number of cop movies, and mind you, just going in color, not black and white. If you just went in color, you'd probably like have 10 times more.
No, just going in black and white, you would have 10 times more. There are less
it-
movies made in black
And
and white.
I think it'd be especially interesting, but that's my personal take and my personal taste, right? I think it'd be even
Yeah.
more interesting if you would go, if you avoid falling in the trap of making a mystery actually to be solved, like like having the game being about it should be a role playing game. It shouldn't be about a mystery solving game, right? The mystery
Yeah.
solving it should be like just
it has to be like a third of the formula, I think. For me, it would be more satisfying if it was like a like an overarching thing where you had to go session by session to come up with the big mystery that was like that made your career.
Like
You
the
finally
secret,
tracked
the
down
secret drug ring, or
the Zodiac killer. You were the guy. And then
I
you
think
retire
you
on
really
that.
run the risk of getting into like an epic, like, do you want it to become one of those Netflix series shows
Mhm.
instead
that
of
they
like a
draw
procedural?
the souls.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
where
think it works equally well. Because if you've got the group that just wants to do an episodic thing, they can't get
Oh,
together all the time, then perfect. You can
there's
do
another
the
thing there's another thing that might be interesting to consider. What about downtime? Do you go back to your house to beat up your wife and shit like that, like cops do?
absolutely. That's one
yeah,
of the best parts
well,
of the game. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. But you do that.
that's what I said. That there should be like one table of shit you do in your downtime, right? And half the things on it is you get divorced. Getting married is nowhere in the game. You just get like you've played like 6 sessions and gotten divorced 4 times, and you haven't gotten on one date.
Is there like a at
Straight to
some point
divorce.
you can get like last job before retirement, and any damage you take is lethal.
Yeah, like you get a paper clip and you're dead. I stubbed my toe.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
Riggs never actually died. I'm just saying that.
But if like I'm saying, if you did want to run a campaign, it's easily adaptable.
I wouldn't architect that into the game. Let
No,
the players
it's
has
definitely one of
rule
those
into it.
session zero things. If the players come to the table and say, "Yeah, we want to do this,"
and even a campaign shouldn't be like, oh, it's probably not gonna be like, oh, every week for 2 years, right? It's probably gonna be like, you know what, let's like 12 session, right?
well, once a month, something like that, because
Yeah.
it is a very niche genre, and most of
Well,
the role players, that's
bi-weekly,
not what they're thinking.
bi-weekly, one game every other week played as
You say
a
like the word is like fortnightly.
yeah, but since that video game, I can't use the word anymore.
I know.
If you play bi-weekly and you play as a serial, like each session is one episode,
Mhm.
that gives you 24 episodes in a season.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But those
So
those
fuck
show-
you.
those TV show
Like the old days.
That will get us syndication by the end of season 3.
those TV show probably should have like half as much episode in a season though, because all the fucking episodes are the same thing.
What are you talking about?
Half
Most of
them are
those shows have like
fucking
30
stupid.
seasons.
Yeah, no, but like I know, but like there's like 6 episodes that they
Shut up.
replay over and over again, like with different flavor. Oh, it's this episode
Yes,
again.
but do you know how many
Sometimes
times Jim got divorced?
there are some good ones out there, especially like Miami Vice was a great one because it was always something like Gonzo. You know what I mean? It was like they went out of their way to do exactly the opposite of what Max was saying. There's a couple other ones like Moonlighting and Remington Steele.
I
They
could
went
never
out of their
get
way
into
to find.
Moonlighting, man.
I know.
It was like the
My
third
favorite
episode
were
of the
Simon
show.
Simon.
Because I tried watching it recently, Moonlighting, and it was like the third episode of the show where the sister was setting up the brother to knock him out of her business, the business of building space lasers. And it was like, I'm out.
it was one of those shows that was trying to give you the absolutely least expected storyline. You know,
Yeah.
they really went out of their way for that. Remington
Moonlight.
Steele was the same way. Simon was better because it was every episode was
Max
actually
is like, I
taken.
fucking hate this conversation now.
Every episode was taken from the cases that my boss worked on, so it was more grounded in reality and less Mickey Spillane.
Mickey Spillane. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm gonna wrap that up, guys. We've been like talking for more than 3.5 hours.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
No, it was a fun talk. I love talking about this shit, right? Game design stuff like that. That's so and always like
hopefully other
seeing
folks
people like
will
working on
will
something.
benefit from it as well.
Okay. Should we recap the checklist before we go though?
Yes, that's a good habit to have.
Hold on, let me get a pen.
So you can actually write it down. I wanted him to recap it so I could just go to this part of the video later and write it
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
You know me, I'm old school. I'm going to take actual notes.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm
Not only
the
that,
one
it's gonna be on
recapping
the
it.
thing that I use as a
Yes,
sun
you're
shield.
recapping it. You're the brain here.
Okay. That's anyway.
We'll
we're
forget
a
to credit
comedy
you.
team. We're a comedy team, and we just show up random places.
Yeah.
So
So
get them
okay,
to do work for us.
you need okay, you need to have like think about who your character are and how to distinguish each other from one from another, right? Having like mechanically, yeah, exactly. Having like mechanics that support different archetype is important. Would be important. A dice mechanic resolution.
Oh,
One at a time. Slow down. Some of us write slower than others. Some of us don't write at all. We use
Use the video, right? Speech text, exactly. Good luck if you want to put what I say in speech text.
No, I have to listen to it and try and decipher it and say it myself. And that's with my voice. This squeaky motherfucker.
So yeah, dice then conflict resolution, so dice mechanic basically. And in that, there's a lot of few things around under that, right? You need to consider how the skill or stat contribute to the dice mechanic. You need to consider the difficulty of the task contribute. You need to consider if it's an opposed task, how do you resolve that?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the big thing that, and then you also want to consider about the tone of the game, like what you're trying to achieve, right? If you're supposed to play competent character, but you have a dice mechanic resolution that make you fail all the time, then you probably need to rethink that, right? So then you need to think about damage,
failure
the
results.
yeah. You need to have like some way of some fail state, so death, right? How do you die? How the character reaches end, right? So in some way.
Cement shoes.
That could be, yeah, that could, but that that could be multiple things, right? Like something that takes you out of action, basically, like like in Call of Duty, you have like sanity, you have HP, stuff like that, right?
About retiring characters.
Yeah. You get shot 3 times in the right leg because you role played it that way. You're probably getting the desk and
that.
Yeah. Tension out.
And then you become an NPC.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah, so you need this fail state for the character, and that leads to damage and stuff like that. So you need to consider those things as well. If you get into some kind of fight, into some kind of like fist fight or gunfight, or if you fall from the roof of a building, those are things that need to be considered.
Yeah.
You will need to consider like character creation, but you seem to have some idea there. You want something very simple and character progression. Those are things that need
progression will be more like what is the pre-generated sheet like, but still
basically going up a level is basically just pulling out the next character sheet in the row.
Well,
with a
maybe.
little
Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, we could put steps in between, I suppose.
Yeah, like buffing, because you might never want to like become a detective or whatever.
Right.
But still, we'll need an actual character creation system for the PIs, right? Because PIs,
They're all different.
they're all like they could be a 400-pound guy with a Polaroid camera and an SUV, and trying to make a couple extra bucks while collecting welfare. So that's like super levels of competency there, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
Catching cheating husband.
yeah, like
Which
exactly.
is mostly what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But like obviously your case starts out as I was hired to see if Mrs. Susan's husband is diddling the maid. And
But he's
next thing
actually
I
going
know,
killing people.
yeah, he's actually going and killing people. And I'm stupid and don't just call the cops.
Mhm.
Because this is a
Oh, that's
crime
gonna be my big
procedure.
break. I'm gonna solve that, and then the academy is gonna recognize me to become a cop. Yeah.
I'll get in the paper and get more customers.
And no, you'll end up with the cement shoes.
Maybe.
But and I
It'd
think
be
those are the
funny
big
if like
things.
you have like a 100% fatality rate for PIs. It's just like we play that game. There's like no
Yeah.
way you're surviving.
I think those
The
those
deadlier
two
the
things,
call-
those are like the big foundation block that you need to figure out. And then once you get that going, then the rest is like detail and flavor and stuff like that, right? Just like it's cherries on top.
Yeah, I honestly think we can get everything in like 20 pages or roughly, and then the rest is just
And then it's spreading it out appropriately with art
Yeah.
and
Another yeah. Oh, I mentioned that difficulty of the task. Yeah, so that's like bonus and malus. If you take damage, do you want to, or your role getting affected and stuff like that? Those all kind of thing you can consider.
you want to write that down, Shadow?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of
It's
mentioned it
damage
already.
and failure results.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. I thought you said, and then there was, and that's the full list, or did we get distracted?
No, I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much the essential.
5 things. Okay.
Yeah, if you nail that, then you can play with the rest, right? The rest is gonna be built around that, right? Other mechanics and stuff like that, or detail, like even the character creation like that. A lot of that is gonna base off of those things, right? It's gonna be like develop out of those things. But you need to nail those things first. Like it's good to have idea. Oh, we could do this, we could do that. At some point, you need to say, okay, this is all gonna work, and then like based on those things, that now you can think about idea more in the concrete and play with those mechanics. I think that's but you need to figure that out first and do some kind of light testing, right? Is it fast? Is it confusing?
Well,
Is it like
we're going to recruit you in one of the play tests.
all right?
Yeah.
And then we'll come back when we've got like something substantial and you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a cup scenario. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. It was fun.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I see True Detective. That's one I saw, I guess. And I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No. Nope. But,
I liked, what was it, episode 2?
the first. I don't know.
I'll send you the scene later.
I don't remember. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
And
Party on.
Thank you for people that joined us in chat as well, and people that are gonna watch on replay. If anybody watched that, like I know that was a kind of like special thing, like because like those guys working on like starting this project that they want to work on, and just like say, let's work out some idea and go get you aligned a bit. But so yeah,
I was expecting more of a checklist episode done in about 15 minutes. It's been 4 hours.
Yeah, well,
an hour per item.
Thank you, Shadow.
Take care, guys. See you next time.
Party on, party on.
Bye, guys.